Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Buchanan.
Nuño.
One thing I can't stand is when people take vacation in January. What is Bronny thinking taking time off?
I don't know.
Right in the beginning of SEC basketball play or a little bit into the beginning? I mean, come on. What a 2%er.
I can't believe he's gone. Who would leave?
Who would leave in January? You had December to take vacation.
Yeah, isn't National Signing Day coming up like in February? Not that it matters anymore.
Oh, yeah, I guess it doesn't really matter.
You know what? If Bronny was a preacher, he'd ask for Sundays off.
Oh, 100%. By the way, I was on a business assignment in Florida. I rushed back, okay?
Yeah, could you rush?
Well, I mean, I tried, right? I called the airlines, and they said, well, it's going to cost you $1,000 to leave early if you book now. But if you wait till it gets really bad, we'll switch you for free. I played the waiting game, right? Props. We were able to get back. I rushed back, driving through flurries, right? Icy roads.
Icy roads.
Get home, tired, exhausted.
Yeah.
I'm ready for the snow. Why don't we get any snow? We got like 12 seconds of snow.
I know.
In Houston, it's like Kyle Field. Can we show the picture of Kyle Field? That got snow. I got literally maybe
that's barely a dusting too, because it's not deep snow.
No, but it's snow.
It is snow.
You know what my lawn looked like? It looked like March 10th. That's what the lawn looked like. It was nice. Maybe a little bit of ice on my cars. No snow. Now, everybody else got to go in the snow.
I had some snow on my car yesterday.
Okay.
And it was probably an inch deep. No big deal. I went out and just wiped it away and came to work. It was nice that everybody was staying home, so I got up here with no trouble.
Yeah, that was nice.
My son sent me a video from Baton Rouge, and they got some serious snow.
They got some real snow,
and he and all of his D-bag frat boy friends are, sledding down hills and things like that. They have the best time. I think you'd have had to have wheels on your sled. Boy, do we even have hills?
What do we call his friends?
I'm sorry, what?
What did you call his friends?
D-bag frat guys.
Yeah.
D-bag frat guys.
Okay. Like Dimebag. Never mind.
Dirt bags.
Oh, there we go. So I was a little disappointed about that because I'm like, if I'm going to rush back.
Yeah, you want there to actually
I want there to be snow. It's not I could have stayed another day in Florida, right?
Yeah.
I could have stayed another day sunny Florida. It wasn't.
Was
it was 41 degrees the entire time. It sucked. But I was in Florida.
But it's North Florida.
Central.
Oh, where were we? Orlando?
Orlando, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I bet if you got all the way down to Miami, it probably would have been nice.
It would have been great. And apparently it snowed 2 inches in Pensacola.
Oh, my goodness.
Freaking College Station got... I'm sure Max is listening and be like, it was more than you think, David. It was actually snowed. But it didn't feel like it in my neighborhood.
No, again, there was, Monday night? It started snowing. My dog got excited about it. But I went to bed thinking, okay, how bad is it going to be tomorrow? And it really wasn't that bad.
You could have come to school. You could have come to work yesterday. Sorry to the people. You could have. But I'm glad everybody got to stay home, be with their family, and Olin had to work while I had to think about work. All right, OB. Basketball. Ole Miss.
Yes.
Top 25 team, number 16.
16.
Why am I worried about this game?
Well, first of all, there should be several reasons. A&M is kind of inconsistent at times. They can be erratic. That's pretty nice. They can be erratic at the free throw line. Ole Miss has beaten Alabama. They went into overtime on the road to lose to their rival by 3.
Yep.
Other than if not that, they'd be in first place in the SEC.
And Chris Beard's a really good coach.
Chris Beard's a good coach. They've got guys that can shoot. Really, physically, they look a lot like A&M.
Except for the rebounding.
Well, I'm saying physically.
Yeah.
They don't have the imposing big guys that Alabama had, for instance.
This is why I'm worried.
Tell me.
We're not a very good free throw shooting team.
Like I said, they can be, I'm being nice, they can be erratic at the free throw. But it's getting better. You know why?
Because Wade Taylor's back?
Because Wade Taylor's back.
And with Wade Taylor, they shot 42% against LSU from the free throw line.
Really?
I believe that's the case.
I thought it was better than that.
Will you fact check me, Kaylee? Kaylee's working her debut. We'll talk to her in a minute.
Wade was 5 of 6.
And I feel,
and the rest of the team was
I feel like there were 4 of 16 or 2 of 16, whatever it was. Yeah, it was not a good number. Double check that with me. I might be drunk.
I thought they were like 4 of 15 without Wade. Maybe I'm wrong on that. So, but anyway.
You're probably right, but I think overall they shot 44%.
42%.
Oh!
From the free throw line.
Yeah.
Wow.
With Wade Taylor.
With Wade Taylor.
Yeah.
That's unacceptable.
No, that's what I'm saying.
So keep the ball in Wade's hands as much as possible.
I'll take 5 of 6, which is low for Wade Taylor.
Yeah, but he hadn't played in a while.
Right. And he still gave it, 12?
The one he missed was his first one.
Yeah.
And then he made 5.
I'm not worried about him. And honestly, like Pharrell Payne, who I think was 2 of 7, if I have that number correct, he actually had been playing well from the free throw line in the last few games heading into it.
I maybe this is wrong, but I'm more forgiving of the big guys when they miss free throws. But I expect my guards to make a high percentage.
Yep. I agree with you. So that's why I'm worried, because all these games come down to the wire, right? A&M's bread and butter is getting to the line. But for that bread to actually have butter, they got to make their free throws.
It's not even bread and margarine.
Yeah, you're exactly right. What was the spray that people used to use? I don't know.
Yeah.
Isn't there a spray that people use?
Yeah, there's some kind of spray. You just spray it on. It tastes
like when you're making
butter.
eggs. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost butter. Is that a thing? Pam.
Yeah, buttery Pam.
Buttery Pam. Yeah.
Buttery Pam.
They, look, especially on the road. And I don't know what that number is, because I don't expect this team to go to be an 85% free throw shooting team. But it's got to be close to 60% to win on the road. Would you agree with that? It's got to be at least 64, 65%?
Yeah, I think the line would start at 65%.
Yeah.
Start. I think you probably need to be at 70%. And they can be that. It's getting the right guys at the line. That's the key there.
Yeah.
But you know what I think the bigger key, even bigger than the free throws.
What's that?
You take care of the ball against Ole Miss. Ole Miss averages like 10 steals a game.
That's the problem.
They're among the best in the country in forcing turnovers. So take care of the ball and then rebound. Get your offense. Do what you typically do.
Yep. Well, I'm glad you brought up rebounds. Ethan Jones, who gives us some stats. Here's an obvious one. Texas A&M is likely to have the rebounding advantage over almost every SEC team, but against Ole Miss, the rebounding disparity is especially prominent. The Aggies lead the nation in offensive rebounds with 16.6. They have 4 players in the top 25 of individual rebounds. Their rebounding margin is a plus 8.5 per game, which is second in the SEC. Ole Miss is the worst team in the SEC rebounding margin, averaging minus 1.8 per game.
Now, is that offensive rebounding or just rebounding?
Offensive. This says rebounding, actually.
Okay,
this says rebounding margin. The Rebels do not have a single player in the top 25 in individual offensive rebounds per game.
You know, I'm all for offensive rebounds, but they really don't matter if you don't get the putback.
Yeah.
If you rebound it and miss it again, and then offensive rebound and miss it again, you're just Angel Reese.
Wow. You were waiting for that one, weren't you?
No,
that was a good one. That was good. I like it.
But the point is, I would rather have fewer rebounds and have more shots go in.
Yeah. No, look, just
hello. That's pretty obvious.
Play your brand of basketball at an exceptional level is obvious. But if you hit your averages and slightly above on your free throws, I think they're for the year, they're probably a 60-something% free throw shooting team.
Probably.
All right. You do that, I think you win these games.
Yeah.
You're a better team than Ole Miss, in my opinion.
Play like every game like you played Purdue.
Yeah. I like that.
Well, because you know what they're capable of.
Well, this is not a football take here, but what I worry about, OB, is the narrative game. What is the narrative game? Something a team is really bad at. Against A&M, for some reason, they're really good at. And that's what I worry about in this particular instance, because Ole Miss, the worst offensive rebounding team in the history of sports, they have 500 tonight.
Well, I think we kind of saw that in the was it the LSU game or the Kentucky game? Maybe Kentucky.
Kentucky, yeah.
We kind of saw that.
Yeah, we did.
But it's Kentucky on the road, so I think all those things go out the window. It's going to be a tough game. They all are. They all are going to be tough games. I'll say this: if it is, a one-possession game late, especially if A&M has the lead, then I'm feeling really good. And I'll tell you why.
Wade Taylor goes to the line.
Wade Taylor at the line.
Yeah.
Imagine that. You get excited because, okay, we got this one because we can win it at the free throw line. What? The free throw line, as long as it's Wade Taylor.
Well,
which means if I'm Chris Beard and I score and A&M has the lead, I'm putting like 3 guys on Wade Taylor just to make sure he doesn't get the inbound pass.
Well, that's fine because I trust Zurich Phelps in that scenario. With 3 guys covering Wade, I think Zurich will get to the line or hit a bucket.
Yeah, that would make sure somebody else would get to the line is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Anybody but Wade.
But I think Zurich would be the next option to score that, even though he leads the team in scoring.
The best part about, in that scenario, best part about Zurich is not so much that I want him at the line, even though, I'm fine. But if you're in that situation chasing Wade and get the ball to Zurich and you want to foul Zurich, you may not be able to because he's so fast with the ball. He may just beat you to the rim. Now, finishing the layup, that's another issue entirely.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's going to happen tonight or in the next couple of games, but I do expect one of those games where Wade Taylor says, "You almost forgot," where he gives you 32 points.
Let me remind you what I really can do when I want to.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. All right. By the way, I forgot the name of the show. I've been thinking about it. I know I host it, but what's it called?
TexAgs Live.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Is that what you're going for?
Yeah, that's right. And we're presented by a great guy.
A gem of a guy, David Gardner Schuler.
Yeah. And in the current room we're in, this is called...
huge room. This is a Rollo Insurance Studio.
That's what it's called. I forgot all about that.
Of course it is.
And this particular area right here, I'm going to magically put a little line around or a little box around this.
It kind of feels cool.
It is a little cool, yeah.
Because it's the cool zone.
The holistic planning.
The holistic planning pool zone, where holistic planning will plan your investments, your taxes, help you with those taxes, your estate.
You just broke the TV.
Yeah, but you know what? But they won't leave you broke.
They won't leave you broke.
And you know what they can do with those investments?
Investinprosports.com.
That's what I heard. Yeah. Invest in Pro Sports.
I'd like for you to go to that website later today and just think about it.
Just invest in Pro Sports.
Right. Yeah.
I could be an owner.
You can own your favorite lacrosse team.
Yeah, my favorite lacrosse team. I don't know what that would be.
Yeah, I don't either. It is, what do you call it?
Can I own rugby team?
You can own whatever you want.
The All Blacks in New Zealand?
Yeah, you can do that as well, yes. I don't know if they're up for sale, but why not? Or your Cowboys, you can find the right coach for your Cowboys. All right, if you want to be a part of the conversation this morning, you can call us up on the Boss Firearms Hotline, 979-693-1150. You call it, we'll pick it up, or you can text that same number as well. Let's go around the room. We say hi to the people. We go behind the glass. Nick Savage. Nick, good morning, buddy.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you, David?
I feel like I'm yelling. Am I yelling?
No.
I'm a little loud?
I can control your volume.
But does it seem like I'm yelling?
No, I don't think so.
I'm going to go back to being calm.
Okay.
Hello, Nick.
Howdy.
How are you?
I'm good. How was your trip?
Trip was cool. The best part about the trip was I got to see family. Usually on these soccer tournaments, we're in the middle of places that I don't know anybody. So I got to see my nephew and his family. We stayed with them. Wonderful time. Annalise did great. So it was fun to be out there. She was invited to a big soccer thing. So we're excited to be there with her.
Just raking in the scholarships?
She's a little young for that. She's in 8th grade, but she'll be in high school soon. So I hope those scholarships come soon.
5-star 8th grader. That's nice. But hey, this game tonight, I'm with y'all. Just watching those free throws, man. It's gotta improve just a little bit. You'd hope it's gonna be tough on the road. I don't know where that environment ranks in the SEC, the Ole Miss, but I mean it's a top 25 matchup, so I'm sure it's gonna be a tough place to play. And last time the Aggies were on the road, it was in Kentucky, right? And they came out in the first half and swung. So maybe if they can put a second half on the back end of a good first half, they'll be looking good toward the end of the game and have a shot.
Obi?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they played really well early on the road against Kentucky. Unfortunately, they could never get great separation.
Yep.
And may have actually gone into halftime down.
They were down, I think, 33-31.
Yeah, and then you thought, Kentucky's not going to keep bricking them from three, and they didn't. No. But, hey, just go out and play good A&M basketball, be great on defense, be great on offensive rebounding, hit some shots, send it down to the wire. Oh, it's going to be a great atmosphere. Look, the folks at Texas A&M are excited about basketball. Folks at Ole Miss are excited about basketball.
Yeah, maybe they'll stay.
They have a great venue, too.
Do they?
Yeah, they have a really nice basketball arena.
Maybe it's too snowy for them to go do things. They stay home. That'd be fine.
Yeah, but you're in Mississippi.
Yeah, what else are you going to do?
Yeah, and you don't have far to go.
Yeah, you're right. It's a good point. A brother can wish, right? I can wish.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center, making her debut on the program, Kaylee Dreyer. Hello, Kaylee.
She doesn't look angry.
Hi, good morning. How are y'all?
I'm well. I feel like this shouldn't be your first day because you've been around for a little bit, but welcome to the program. Tell the folks where you're from.
My name's Kaylee Dreyer. I'm from Sugar Land, Texas, and go Texans and go Aggies.
Go Texans, go Aggies. You're a Cowboys guy, though.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah,
I am. But I had to acknowledge that the Texans. I wonder if she agrees. I'm sure she does. The Texans kind of got hosed on some calls.
They did
against
for
the
sure.
Chiefs. Yeah.
They got hosed
for sure.
Yeah, they did. But you can't have mistakes on the road, and you got to hope that the referees are at least a little bit more fair and balanced.
Yeah, my wife's a big Raiders fan, so she hates the Chiefs. Just because Raiders and Chiefs have something. And so she's always saying, oh, they're always cheating for Mahomes. Refs cheat for Mahomes. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then I was thinking, I don't think they came in saying we're going to cheat for Mahomes. But it looked like they were cheating for Mahomes.
There was a time, the Jordan rules, right? So like when you're the star of the league, you're going to get that.
Yeah.
Kaylee, you got any news for us this morning?
So speaking of men's basketball, as y'all said, number 13 Aggies face number 16 Ole Miss tonight on the road. And Ole Miss just came off a big win against number 4 Alabama and a close game against number 14 Mississippi State. Texas A&M does hold the 12-5 advantage in the series against Ole Miss. And under Buzz Williams, the Aggies are 6-2 against Ole Miss, including a 3-1 record when playing in Oxford.
I believe also we Texas A&M basketball beat them in the SEC tournament last year. Does that sound right? I think Wade Taylor had a big game against them.
Yeah, probably. I can't. There's so many games they all kind of mush together. I do know that. I remember when they lost. They lost to Florida in a great game. It might have been Ole Miss. Ole Miss, they're very guard oriented, but then they have their big guy. I think his name's Brakefield, and he's a lot looks in stature.
Yep.
A lot like Pharrell Payne.
Yeah.
So, and they're not huge. They're not a big team like Alabama. Like, wait till Florida. You see Florida, they're enormous.
They're a big team, yeah.
And even, I think, Auburn to some degree. So, physically, A&M matches up really well in this game.
Yeah. Hey, I want you to think of a scenario, OB, all right?
Okay.
All right, it's going to be, we're going to switch the night to Thursday, okay?
Okay, thank you.
It's Thursday.
Yeah.
And it's snowing.
Oh, it's snowing.
Not College Station snowing. Houston's
it's really snowing.
Houston's snowing, right?
It looks like sugar, Sugar Land.
Yeah, like Sugar Land. All under sugar and snow. And you're hungry.
Oh, gosh, I know I'm hungry. I'm always hungry.
And Brad and Brandon of 1775 say, hey, you know what, OB? We've got something waiting for you here. But you don't have shoes. It's cold, right? You're barefoot, and you got to walk from TexAgs there. Do you do it for 1775?
Heck yeah. Actually, I got a big dog, and I'll get some more, and I'll come up with a dog sled. I'll be doing like that Diderot. I'll be mushing them. Take me towards Snook to 1775 barbecue. I got to get there. I got to get that brisket.
You got to get that brisket.
I got to get those pork ribs. I love those succulent pork ribs.
Like right now, I could use some pork ribs.
Okay. There's never a bad time for pork ribs.
Brad and Brandon, if you're listening right now, it's really uncool that we don't have pork ribs right now.
I want to get some of that sausage, and you know what? I need something to warm me up after trudging through the snow.
Queso mac and cheese?
Queso mac and cheese.
Do you drink the cheese after? Have you done that one yet?
Yeah. I kind of take that bowl. I eat all the macaroni and cheese, and then there's a remnant of the cheese left. And just
show me how it goes.
I'll just lick it. I'll just take that bowl, and I'll just lick it. I'll lick up that cheese because it's so good. And then I might order a second helping just to put my feet in because it's
okay. Now we went a little too far. Open Thursday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until they're sold out. Online ordering turns off at 10 a.m. 8203 Raymond Stusher Parkway, College Station, Texas. 979-492-6241, 1775txbbq.com.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggie Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Lucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggie Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggie Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Lucci sent you by.
We are TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio It is the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Olin Buchanan, David Nuño here. Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025.
Already.
I mean, it was just New Year's Day, like
just
a week
like
ago.
3 weeks ago.
But it feels like 8 days ago.
It feels like it's gone by fast.
Yeah. I think it's because I've worked so many days this month.
Yeah, that's what it must be. Yeah.
I think
toiling
that's part
away.
of it. OB, Aaron Glenn, pretty close to being, the last I looked, he hadn't been hired yet, but pretty close to being the head coach of his former team, the New York Jets.
Yeah, I wish he was be the head coach of his former team, the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
I wish the best for Aaron Glenn.
Yep.
And I wish I could say the best for Aaron Glenn would be the coach of the Cowboys, especially over the Jets. But as long as you've got, Jerry Jones issue, what can you do?
But I think with Jerry, at least you're going to be close to the playoffs every year.
Jerry's an idiot. And look, I'm a Cowboys fan, and I can look at that team, and it looks to me like a team that's on the brink of a free fall. You got a quarterback that's way overpaid, that hasn't been nearly as good since he can't run anymore, that's going to throw interceptions in the red zone. He's the Cowboys version of Kirk Cousins. He puts up numbers, but he doesn't win, and you made him the highest paid player in the league. Your offensive line is shaky. You wasted a draft pick last year on a left tackle. Zach Martin's his time's nearing an end. Outside of CeeDee Lamb, who do you have as a receiver, right?
Mm-hmm.
The tight end Ferguson, he took a step back last year. Maybe you're going to upgrade at running back. I don't know. Your running back actually wasn't a problem. And your defense, your defensive tackles suck. You wasted a draft pick on that Michigan guy a couple years ago. There's nothing about that team that gives you confidence. I think they're going to hit a free fall. And then, this is the team, some of the draft picks they've made, unless a CeeDee Lamb or a Micah Parsons just falls in their lap, they pretty much botched the draft. So it's probably best, and this is sad to think, it's probably best, I can't believe I'm going to say this, for Aaron Glenn, he probably has a better chance for success with the Jets.
You think so, though? I mean, it's the Jets.
I think the Cowboys, I hope I'm wrong, but I think they're on the brink of a free fall. I really do. I hope I'm wrong.
And how freaking good is Jaden Daniels?
Jaden Daniels, damn good. I think he won the Heisman Trophy or something.
I mean, goodness gracious. Like, he's actually a significantly better pro than I thought he'd be. I thought he'd be okay.
You know what? He's another example of something that we've been talking about for years is if you're not going to get a running quarterback and using,
right,
you're not going to win. Or that guy, and I'm not saying he has to run every play, but he has to be able to run and be willing to run. It's just the greatest threat. It's the greatest weapon in football today at any level. And, what's a good thing about A&M next year?
Good thing.
They got a guy that can run, and if you'll spend the off season tailoring an offense for all the things he can do, you could I think win pretty fast with Marcel Reed.
What did I see about Daniels? And I hope I'm not being taken for a ride here. That he trains with VR at 1.25 speed or something to that effect. As part of his prep. So he'll put himself in a virtual reality simulator, and he trains against that type of defense at 1.25 the speed of the game to help him process the information.
Okay, I haven't heard that, but you know what? When you're an athlete,
fact check, just check.
When you're I didn't
mean to snap.
You were saying I misunderstood. You said you trains in VR, and I thought, he goes all the way back to Baton Rouge?
V as in Victor.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Because you said visual reality or something like virtual reality. Look, he's good. I don't have any problem against him personally. Seems like a nice kid, actually.
Jalen Hurts, a nice guy too.
Yeah, and I hate both their teams.
Yep.
And so I wish them
nothing but ill. Yeah.
If those guys played for any other teams, except for maybe the Giants, Steelers, and 49ers,
half the league,
I'd probably like them, and Packers too. I'd probably like them.
3/4 of the league.
The Cowboy. Look, Aaron Glenn. I've always said this. He ruined me for cornerbacks because my first year covering A&M, He was a cornerback for the Aggies, and I've never seen a better cornerback since.
Yep.
Play for A&M or actually maybe anywhere. He's that good. He was that good, and I think he's done a great job as the defensive coordinator in Detroit. Unfortunately, they had significant injuries, not just one huge, but significant injuries on their defense. And I think the Jets and the Cowboys could do I think both of them would be happy if they got Aaron Glenn. But as much as it pains for me to say, the Jets might be a better situation for Aaron Glenn.
One other NFL note before we hit a break is we're going to talk to Brad Logan, who's an Ole Miss insider, talking some hoops here in a moment. I saw this note, and it caught my interest because A&M will be playing Notre Dame next year. Obviously, Notre Dame losing in the championship game. The Bengals are bringing in Al Golden for an interview to be their defensive coordinator. Anything that hurts teams that A&M is going to play, I'm all in for.
Yeah, me too. You know what's really going to hurt Notre Dame, though? Is all the guys are losing on their defense.
Well, this is true. That's going to hurt. Did you see the report from Dan Wolken? Is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
That apparently players or coaches were telling media what they could and couldn't ask, and he said it was a very heated locker room.
Wait, and did the reporters go along with that?
He didn't get into that part. He tweeted this information out that he goes, a very heated locker room where they were asked, they were told not to ask certain questions, and I think he called it Bush League.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one. What you do is you tell your players, hey, if they ask you this, we advise you to say, yeah, no comment.
Yeah.
But you can't tell a free media what questions they can and can't ask.
I have the tweet right here. Bizarre scenes from the Notre Dame locker room. Players yelling at reporters, coaches warning people not to ask certain questions. Amateur hour.
Or what? So if I asked, I don't know what the questions they don't want to ask, but if I asked the player, hey, what might be from that? Why'd y'all have trouble covering the receivers from Ohio State? I'm sure that's not one of them.
Why did you guys have trouble throwing the ball down the field?
Yeah, what are you going to do?
Yeah. He followed up. Somebody said, you always think you're right and players owe you something. That's what 25 years did to you. Then Dan responds, I think if the locker room is open, which it is for the CFP, reporters should be able to go in there and respectfully ask questions without being sworn at. If a player doesn't want to talk, that's fine.
That's what I'm saying.
So that's his perspective. I haven't heard others tweet about it, but that's what Dan Wolken says.
Again, obviously I wasn't there. And
if true.
Yeah, that
does not seem like Marcus Freeman style locker room from all the things I've read.
Yeah. So what if I ask that question? Is a coach going to grab me and throw me out? Because I kind of hope they do, because it's going to make me a much more wealthier man.
Yeah. Let's get you to go to the A&M locker room and make some mistakes.
You know what?
Don't do that with A&M.
I've tried. I thought the Alabama has idea. I thought was going to come and get me that day. And
when you asked Saban some questions?
Yeah, that day in.
Was it in Florida?
Yeah, in crap. Why can't
Destin.
Destin, thank you.
All right, we'll hit a break here. We'll come back with Brad Logan on the other side, get his perspective. Right now, we're talking about Heritage Films. YourHeritageFilm.com is a website. They make documentary films about families, family businesses, family ranches, just your granddad, whoever is important in your life. It could be about you. You may be thinking to yourself, why would I want to do a documentary about myself? It's not for you. It's for your family. So your kids can get to know your story, then their kids and their kids after that. And you no longer have to play the game of telephone. The entire story is captured right there in a 2-hour documentary done by Chance McClain and his awesome team. The phone number for Heritage Films is 713-893-8341, or you can go to YourHeritageFilm.com. That is YourHeritageFilm.com. We are back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Boss Firearms Hotline. We're joined by Brad Logan, who's an Ole Miss insider. You can find him on Inside the Rebels on 247, Max South Sports, and WFCA FM Sports, and one of the hosts of Believe in Ole Miss. Brad, you got a lot of titles, my man. How you doing?
Doing well, David. Thanks for having me on. A big one tonight in Oxford.
Yeah, so talk to me about Ole Miss, like what you have seen from them this year. Are they about what you thought, ahead of schedule? I know that they had won, was it 4 in a row leading into their overtime loss to Mississippi State? Just talk to me about where they are right now and what the expectations were.
Yeah, I think they're ahead of schedule, and everyone that understood when Chris Beard is I know your audience is very familiar with his ties to the state of Texas. He's got a lot of Final Four appearances, and if you have one Final Four appearance, that's good for Ole Miss. They don't have any, and it's a program in the SEC that many have said is obviously one of the bottom feeders in the SEC in the history of SEC basketball. So what he's been able to do in just a short period of time, I think, says a lot about him, his coaching staff. They've recruited really well, and I did not anticipate them to be where they are right now. They've had some really big wins. Oddly enough, most of them have come on the road. Obviously, beating an Arkansas team that we know now is not very good, but at the time the win was pretty good. A Louisville team on the road that's kind of picked up some steam. Anytime you win in the KFC Yum Center, I think it's a big win. But this team is kind of led by Malik Dia down low. Ole Miss has been a team that has been without a post presence for quite a while, and this is a guy that can shoot the three. And Coach Chris Beard's been pretty animated by saying that, you know, if it's 5 players on the floor, he wants all 5 to be able to shoot the three. And they can all bring it up the floor. It's a very athletic team. Sean Padula has been leading the team at the point, leading the team in points, also at 14.2 a game. Juju Murray at 11.8. Matthew Morrell had a big game, of course, sending the Mississippi State game to overtime with the big 3. He's averaging around 11. And then Jamin Brakefield led all scores against Mississippi State in the overtime thriller. He's averaging right at 10 points a game. He had 20 against MSU. So it's a team that very easily could be, have only one loss, but they've got a couple of losses in the game against Mississippi State. OT lost 84-81. I thought Ole Miss played really well. They took Mississippi State's punch. They got down 14 early, really couldn't overcome that. They clawed back and to tie it up. This is a really good basketball team, and I know they've got their hands full tonight with Texas A&M, and I'm excited to see what happens.
Hey, Brad, Olin Buchanan here. So obviously a team with their record and their success does a lot of things. Well, what do they do, in your opinion, best? And then secondly, is there anything that you look at and you say, okay, this is an area where, maybe they struggle or could be vulnerable?
Yeah, great question, Olin. Have really enjoyed following you for all the years. You do great work.
Thank you.
I think it's a great question. And the first thing I think they've been able to do is they bought into the Chris Beard culture. And I know culture's a word that gets thrown around a lot in basketball, really all sports. But what he's brought to the program in regards to running the floor, being disciplined on the floor, running his offense, playing really good, solid defense, I think that's the main thing that you're seeing. You never get too high with Chris Beard. You never get too low. The postgame press conference, we had a chance to visit with him following the loss to Mississippi State. And it was almost the same type of press conference we had whenever he came to the press room against LSU. And then it's kind of been the same way all year. And I think he's been very animated when people say, Coach, what are you thinking about winning games on the road versus winning at home, and the importance of protecting home field or home court advantage versus, trying to steal some on the road? He said he really doesn't buy into that. He thinks he plays every single game that comes towards, the team. And, you got one game here, one game there. Really doesn't buy into the numbers game. You need to win 7 or 8 conference games to get you in the tournament, or what do you need to be to have that Friday bye in the SEC tournament? And so I think just really understanding and watching the team kind of play as a cohesive unit, I think that's been a huge key for them. And easily, the area of emphasis for Ole Miss is rebounding. They were doubled up on the boards against Mississippi State. That proved to be a huge component of the win for the Bulldogs. I know Texas A&M does a great job of going to the board, so that's definitely going to be something to watch tonight for Ole Miss. And not only that, Olin, but it's they're being out rebounded on the offensive end, and that's what's killer for Ole Miss is other teams getting the offensive board and putting them back, and they've got a lot of easy buckets. They being Mississippi State, and so that's something they've got to try to shore up down this stretch run. I had a chance to look at their schedule. 9 ranked teams, and some of those in the top 5 are on the schedule for Ole Miss. And I know you guys can say the same thing for Texas A&M. The SEC is just a gauntlet this year, and just being able to see what the SEC's been able to do. So many great teams, so many great coaches. I think this may be the most fun SEC tournament we've ever had in a couple of weeks over in Nashville.
Brad, you mentioned the rebounding, and obviously that's A&M's bread and butter is to offensive rebound the heck out of the ball. And you mentioned Malik Dia earlier, and I'm looking at his numbers, really nice numbers on the year. But that Alabama game, the 19 rebounds to go along with 23 points. Just talk about his presence this year, how he's grown into such a stud for Ole Miss.
Yeah, David, we talked about how Ole Miss has been kind of up and down rebounding the basketball. And against Memphis, the Rebels went on the road, lost to the Tigers 87-70, and just did not play well in the FedEx Forum. Came home and had a very spirited practice and then beat Georgia at home 63-51. And then you talked about that Alabama game on the road, that quad 1 win is going to be huge come tournament time when you start seeding if things fall like we think they're going to fall. But I'll be honest, Chris Jans the head coach at Mississippi State, did a phenomenal job defensively matching up Malik D. And I think it was a physical aspect too. Cam Matthews is one of the better post players in the conference. Now, Mississippi State didn't play particularly well last night against Tennessee, although they kind of came back there at the end and it didn't get beat quite as bad as I thought they were going to. But, this SEC schedule is going to be so many ups and downs. But I thought Chris Jans did a great job bracketing coverage. I kind of get football out of my mind, but bracketing him down low. And I thought it was he came together a little bit down the stretch. Malik Dia did. He could shoot the three a little bit, but I think that was more of a defensive game plan by Chris Jans and Mississippi State that limited his rebounding. I'll be interested to see what happens tonight. I think there's some physicality involved with that. I don't know that Malik Dia was as physical as Coach Chris Beard would have liked down the stretch against Mississippi State. Could have had another spirited practice, as I like to say. So we'll see what happens tonight at 8 o'clock.
So, Brad, what kind of atmosphere are the Aggies going to be walking into in Oxford? Like, we understand that there's some snow out that way, maybe. Is that going to keep people from getting to the arena?
Yeah, most of the snow is south of Oxford, so we don't think weather will be a factor. It's during the week, and I know a lot of teams struggle in the SEC with weeknight games, and of course this one being a late one. I do think it will fall to be a pretty good crowd, and the reason I believe that is because Ole Miss, like I said, we've gone to kind of look through the schedule, and Ole Miss has a lot of its games, and a lot of its bigger games have been won on the road. So Ole Miss has not played at home since it beat LSU a couple of weeks ago, and then prior to that, when it beat Georgia. So they haven't had a ton of home games. So a lot of the fans are excited to finally get to see Ole Miss in person since it beat a big time win over Alabama and then played well in the overtime thriller against Mississippi State. So I expect as good a crowd as you can expect during the weekend, maybe a little bit more. The Ole Miss has not played before its student body yet. So the students will finally get an opportunity to come and support the team. And I think what Chris Beard has been very evident when he's talking to media and doing his interviews. He's been very open with the fact that he wants Ole Miss fans in the stands. And if you're a season ticket holder and you can't come to the game, there's a process in which you can donate those tickets back to the university. And you're right. Ole Miss needs a big crowd tonight. They're going to need it because I know the Aggies are going to bring everything they have. This is a great opportunity. I think someone from TexAgs actually posted that this is a resume builder. This is an opportunity where it really doesn't matter. It does matter who wins and loses, don't get me wrong, but this is not going to be a detriment to the record to either team. Both these teams are highly ranked. They have great net rankings, and it should be a really good basketball game.
Hey, Brad, let me just one quick football question. What's the expectations for the Ole Miss football team? I know they keep adding to their wide receiver core. Lane Kiffin is obviously great when it comes to the transfer portal, but it's going to be a different look to the team next year.
Yeah, the too early prognostications, I think, have Ole Miss right around that 9-win mark. And I think Austin Simmons, the quarterback, now there's going to be some quarterback, obviously scuttlebutt going into the season, but don't make any mention of the folks that I think it's going to be Austin Simmons 100% all the way. There was a report that came out and was reported by 24/7 Sports and Inside the Rebels that Austin Simmons will not be playing baseball this year. So that just lends me to believe that he will participate in spring practice. Now we'll see if that's a hot dog eating contest or they'll actually do some spring practice, but he's definitely QB1. And you made mention, too, the wide receiver room's loaded. They continue to go to the portal. And, of course, the tight end room, getting the transfer Luke Haas from Arkansas. Ole Miss has done a really good job with Daquan Wright coming back. So, offensively, I think Ole Miss is going to be possibly as good as last year. Defensively, not so much. They lost a ton going to the NFL draft, and they've got a lot of work to do across the defensive front and then at the linebacker position, but I do think Ole Miss will be really good offensively.
Brad, great stuff, man. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, Brad Logan there on the Boss Firearms Hotline. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with some messages. Right now, if your organization or business is looking for an opportunity to engage with Aggies, then you need to check out the Association of Former Students. They bring Aggies of all ages together during marquee events held throughout the year. We're talking about awesome events like Aggie Ring Day, All Aggie Hullabaloo Gathering. They all welcome tens of thousands of guests. And there are many sponsorship and vendor opportunities to get your brand in front of those attendees. They offer a wide variety of both digital and in-person options to promote your brand. These include title sponsorship naming, on-site presence, activation, recognition in social media posts, and much, much more. There's also advertising opportunities in both the Texas Aggie Magazine and the Aggie News newsletter, which are seen by over 230,000 people. So if your business is ready to engage with Aggies, choose a partner with the organization that's been supporting that Aggie network for over 140 years. For more information on options available through the association, please email sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, the Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Kaylee's there. Kaylee, I know you've got a message about free throw shooting.
Yes, so this message says, Olin, I agree about big guys missing free throws to an extent. Those same big guys are shooting and making threes. If they can shoot threes, they can make free throws.
Okay, but I don't think I've seen Pharrell Payne take a three. I'm just saying that typically or frequently, I am more forgiving for the big guys because just on average, your bigs aren't as good of free throw shooters as your guards for whatever reason. Doesn't mean big guys can't shoot free throws.
Right.
But on average, your bigs don't shoot as high a percentage at the foul line as your guards.
If you play like a big, right? Like, because in today's Euro style of basketball played in the NBA, those big guys shoot free throws and threes, but they play a different brand. They don't bang in the paint. Those who bang in the paint oftentimes are not very good at shooting free throws.
And, you know, Pharrell Payne, I think he came into this season, he was like a 54% career free throw shooter.
Yep.
And he's obviously worked on it. And he may be, I don't know, third or fourth on the team in percentage now because he was on a pretty good hot streak at the foul line. So, you know, I applaud him.
So A&M on the year is hitting 67.7% of their free throws. I'd like that number obviously higher. But if you shoot at that percentage, right, basically 2/3 of your free throws, these games that feel tight oftentimes won't feel as tight.
Yes.
Like LSU, yeah, they won comfortably, but it would have been.
Sometimes those misses might be the front end of a 1-and-1.
Right, another opportunity.
Now, to be fair, was there two incidents against LSU where they missed a free throw, but was able to get the rebound, one a direct put back. I think one they passed it out, might have hit a three.
Yep.
So, you know, you got to look at it fairly, but typically just make your free throws, get as many points as you can. We all know that.
Yeah, by the way, A&M hitting 67%. You've got Ole Miss hitting 73%. So that is a couple free throws difference in a close game. That is a huge difference.
Sure. Every possession counts, especially for A&M.
Obie, I missed you, buddy.
I'm glad to have you back,
Thank
Dave.
you, man. Appreciate you. All right, we'll hit a break here. When we come back on TexAgs Live, John Harris on a mobile. We'll talk to Johnny about the NFL playoffs. We'll talk to Johnny about college football, the NFL draft coming up soon, that and more. Again, you're listening to TexAgs Live. And we're back here on TexAgs Live. I don't know why I'm clapping. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. We're going to go to the Boss Firearms Hotline. We're going to talk to the Professor John Harris, footballtakeover.com founder, and of course, Houston Texans sideline reporter. John, good morning, buddy.
Good morning, David. How you doing, bud?
I'm okay, man. I was off for a couple days. Annalise had a soccer thing in Florida, so I'm back and happy to talk to you. The last time I did the show, I spoke to you, so I'm back at it. And the last time we spoke, we were getting ready for the game against the Chiefs. I've got my opinions. I know you've got yours, man. Just kind of sum up the season for the Texans this year.
Boy, when you think about where we were in 2020 and what we went through in 2020 through 2022, you step back from that and you go, man, it's a really good year for the Texans to have won the division the second year in a row. To have gotten to the divisional playoff round again was something that there were a lot of people that didn't think we would do it, given the fact that we were playing a first place schedule this year. But I do think there was a sense Monday when we came back in the building, just everybody you saw, whether it was the nutrition or whether it was the weight room staff or whether it was coaches, there really was this feeling of, man, we let that one get away. And I think that will be something that continues to drive this team. I think after last year when Baltimore beat us, I think there was this thought of, okay, Baltimore's just that much better than we were. We didn't stand a chance really in that game, even though it was 10-10 at halftime. I think there was this thought in the second half, like we're not of that caliber. I think the other day against Kansas City, I think it was, no, we're in this thing, and we should have won the game. I think there was a lot of people that thought that, but when it comes to playoff time and making plays, when you have two of the legends that you're going against and you can't shut them down, and you miss field goals and you get field goals blocked and you have 15-yard penalties on the very first kickoff of the game and you give up probably 10 to 12 points in special teams and lose by 9, well, that should tell you something. So I think there was, when guys left the building, there was this kind of resolute nature that they had, like, we'll be back and we'll be better. Because of what we've gone through this year. And it wasn't perfect. We had some disasters, as Will Anderson said in the locker room. We can't lose to the Jets and the Titans, and he's right. Those are games we shouldn't have lost. And they cost us potentially an opportunity to play a game at home in the second round as opposed to having to continue to go on the road. We've won a wild card game 6 times now, and we've gone for a divisional playoff game on the road 6 times, and we've lost all 6 times on the road. But we're really good at home. So let's fix this in the regular season and win games in the regular season that we should win and get that second round game at home and then force Patrick Mahomes to have to play against our guys inside where they were tremendous this year. You look at all of our interceptions and everything that came from this season, 80% of them or more came from playing at NRG Stadium. So in the end, it was a really good season. It was a promising season. It's still a young team led by a young quarterback and a young coach, but the pieces are there. And it's just a matter of, keep knocking at the door and eventually you're going to find the right one. But it's, there was that thought Monday, David, of, we let that one get away, man. And you could see it on everybody's face. You could just see it whenever you talk to somebody. That whole building was thinking we're going to be back here on Monday getting ready for the Buffalo Bills and going to Buffalo and all that weather in the AFC Championship game. And we just didn't make enough plays. And they finished the game and played a clean game for the most part. And we did. And that will haunt these guys all offseason, but I think it will also drive them, and that'll be a good thing.
Johnny, how close are they? I mean, after answering that question just a moment ago, obviously the team is obviously on the right track, but how close are they? Where are some areas that you need to see them maybe upgrade the talent, if you will?
Yeah, I think it's on the offensive line and another offensive piece. And, had they had Tank and Steph and could have had the big 3 all year, what could have happened? I think they really needed Steph Diggs in that game against Kansas City. Once the guy's out of sight, out of mind for the most part, you kind of forget, Steph Diggs. But it was something I kept bringing up. And, at the beginning of the year, back in training camp, CJ had mentioned a 5-headed monster. And he was talking about the big 3 receivers, Nico, Tank, and Steph. And then he was talking about the running backs and tight ends and Joe Mixon and Dalton Schultz. So by the end of the year, that was a 3-headed monster. And then even you lost Brevin Jordan, too, who was always good for, a couple of big plays in a game every couple of games. You'd see Brev have, the touchdown in the playoffs last year against the Browns, and he just ran away from everybody. We lost him in week 2. So I felt like we were an offensive piece away at the skill positions, the perimeter positions of really being what we could have been. But I think it all comes back, as it always does. I mean, you think about every team, and you think about, how good could the offensive line be? And I felt like at the end of the year, by that last game, they got, even though I know there were 8 sacks, there were 5 in the fourth quarter, you could put probably 2, 3, or maybe even 4 of those on CJ. He's trying to make a lot happen, or down by 11, all that kind of stuff. But I thought the protection was actually pretty good for most of the game, and the run game was really, really good for almost all of the game. So, but I don't know that you can go into this season and go, yeah, we're just going to run it back with that group. I don't think you can do that. I think you've got to get a better disposition of those guys up front. But you may have found something by moving Titus Howard to guard. You may have found something with Jarrett Patterson at center and being the full-time center. You're going to have to make some changes up there, though, because there are some guys that need to step away and not be, in starting positions going forward. So I think that's, to me, the biggest area is to have the offensive line kind of get that in, round that into shape the way you want it, the mentality that you need to have on the offensive line. And then you need to find, those offensive pieces. And, with Tank, you just don't know. With Steph, you feel like, okay, he can probably come back from the ACL. It happened in week 7, week 8, whatever it was. I think you can get Steph back, but, he's 32 years old and he's a free agent. So is he going to get other contract offers? Is this going to be a situation where you got to pay him $25 million just to get him back for another year, and you don't even know, coming off an ACL, what you're going to get. So I think they're going to put some resources into finding another offensive weapon, whether it's Steph or whether it's somebody else. I do think they'll put resources into offensive linemen, and I do think the draft will be spent getting better in the trenches. No question about that.
Lions lose a tough one to the Commanders. I don't know if we focus on the turnovers for the Lions or just the brilliance of Jaden Daniels. What was your take from that game?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Lions defense, by the end of the season, I felt bad for AG because he didn't have any of his dogs. He didn't have Hutch. He didn't have Ali McNeil. Angeloni, who had only been back for a couple of weeks. His corners were all dead. Then he loses Amik Robertson, who had been so good on Justin Jefferson in week 18. He loses him to a broken arm early in the game. They were down to a JV unit defensively. And that just really, that just hurt them. They just didn't have the pieces. And I think, for Dan Campbell, it's got to be so frustrating because now he walks in and he said Ben Johnson to AG for the last 3-4 years. And now he's going to look up and go, okay, I got new coordinators. Holy crap, how's this going to go? Is it going to be different? How is this going to be different? What do we have to do? How do we make this great again? And I'm losing 2 really good coordinators. So there are going to be some questions in Detroit, but I think, what it goes to show, and it shows at all levels of football. If you think about every level of football, David, if I ask you, why is the team great? And, obviously you got to have great players. There's no question. Once you get to the NFL, look, everybody's great. I mean, only 1% of the players that play college football play in the NFL. I mean, it's all about great players, but you have to surround great players from the top down. You have to have great ownership. You're going to have great, GM, head coach that work together, that know what they're doing. And then you have to surround those players with the right pieces. And the reason I say that is, you look at the Commanders, they get Josh Harris as the owner. He comes in. They get rid of Dan Snyder. That just opens up the room, just the positivity, finally, of just the doom and gloom that had been there with Snyder is now gone. So it starts there. Then you bring in, obviously, Magic as a minority owner. But then you bring in my buddy Dave Gardage, who came from the NFL offices, and he took a high-level position with the Commanders. He's one of the best football people there is. And then they took Dylan Thompson from the Texans in his role as kind of the, I don't know the right way of saying it. I don't want to call him a character coach because he's more than that. But you put him alongside C.J. Stroud, and C.J. Stroud, when he went and won the Rookie of the Year, that was one of the first people that C.J. recognized. And the Commanders went and got Dylan Thompson. So now you had Dylan Thompson and Dave Gardy to Josh Harris, and then Dan Quinn, obviously, as the head coach. And you look up and you're like, man, we've set this room up to succeed because we put good people in it. And I think that's a lesson for everybody to think about. When you have good leadership and you put good people in there that know how to be leaders, and you're not worried about being stabbed in the back, and you're not worried about what other guys are saying, or you're not worried about what the owner has done with, his cronies down in Florida with a bunch of cheerleaders, you end up turning into a pretty good football team. And then when you have the guy at quarterback, it all comes to fruition. And I think that's what Washington has right now. Now, is that good enough to beat Philadelphia in Philadelphia? I don't think so. But I think it's been one hell of a run for Washington. And now, just like us last year, now it becomes, can you repeat it? Can you do it again? You're going to have to play a second-place schedule. You're going to have to go against some heavies. How do you repeat it? I think they've got the people to be able to do that, and I think that is huge for them. But they bounce back from adversity all year long. But they got the right piece, the right time. And how could I forget Cliff Kingsbury and what he's done with that offense? So it just goes to show when you get the right people, and you think about A&M, when you get the right people doing the right things that are good leaders, and you have talented players around them that want to do well and aren't worried as much about the NIL or the portal or whatever, you're going to end up doing great things. And I think that's coming for a team like A&M. I think it's coming for a team like the Washington Commanders. Definitely will go for the Houston Texans as well.
What do you think about AG going to the Jets if it does end up happening?
Oh, man. I want AG to be a head coach because I think he's a great leader of men. Gotten to meet him a couple times. I just love his presence. And I think that will help the Jets. But the Jets have so many damn problems. What are they going to do at quarterback? And then that's a decision that befalls a young head coach. You think about Robert Saleh. They went in on Zach Wilson, and it wasn't the right mix. I don't know, Zach wasn't ready. The coaching staff wasn't ready. New York wasn't ready. They all weren't ready. AG's got to make that decision. And if it's Aaron Rodgers, which I don't think it's going to be, and I hope it's not for Aaron Glenn's sake, I would hate that for him. I'd like for Aaron to start clean, with a Jaden Daniels, with a C.J. Stroud, to have his guy that he can build with for the next 8 to 10 years. Because when you're up in New York and you go to a game there, you realize what it means, man. It's tough to be the Jets head coach, but man, there's a following. There's a passion for it. And not saying that there isn't like that in Philly or where other places, but the Jets have been down for so long that if AG can just get them to 9-8, 10-7, they can be in the playoff mix in the final week of the year. I mean, it'll be glorious for them up there. So from that standpoint, I like it. I just worry about a team and a program and an organization has been so dysfunctional for so long, starting all the way at the top, whether that is going to make it a good situation for AG or not. And that I worry about. I want him to get a shot. I want him to have that opportunity to show that he can be the leader of men as the head coach and turn something around that hasn't been turned around in a long time. But I just worry about that place in particular not being the right place for him.
Talking to John Harris here on TexAgs Live. Johnny, what about the remainder of the playoffs? Obviously, this Chiefs game coming up against Buffalo. Josh Allen getting that huge victory. You know how good they've been at home. This is a hard one for me to call because the Chiefs are the Chiefs, but Buffalo seems to be playing at an elite level, especially when it matters.
Yeah, I think one of the things that the Bills can do that I didn't think we could do, but we did on last Saturday was we kind of bullied them around up front, and I didn't think we could do that. And I think the Buffalo Bills have a few more bullies up front, so I think they can run the football on them. We've got a three-headed monster at running back; they can control the ball, and that's what we were trying to do, and we were actually accomplishing that and doing a pretty good job of that. But you get some untimely 15-yard penalties after a touchdown drive. And, they get to maintain the ball. Their biggest thing, and I actually think this could maybe work in Buffalo's favor, but one of Buffalo's better players is Teron Johnson, number 7, and he's probably going to end up on Travis Kelce. And the thing with us is we could never really kind of figure out in zone coverage kind of how to really clamp him up, really, almost treat it like a matchup zone in basketball. We just couldn't kind of match up with him. We were kind of displaying our areas, and he would get into that open area. I think the Bills can do a little bit better job of matching up with Kelsey when he goes through a zone. Hey, I'm going to take him through this zone. And Teron Johnson's got to cover him in man-to-man. He's one of the better man-to-man nickels in the league. So I think Buffalo's got a couple of things that we didn't that will give them an opportunity. Look, they beat the Chiefs earlier, and that happened in Buffalo, but they beat the Chiefs earlier. They're not scared of playing it cold. They're not scared of playing at that place in Arrowhead. And I think there is an intimidation level there when you play at Arrowhead. So there's that. But with the Chiefs, it's one of those things where you can have them down and you can have the foot on the throat. But if you don't squeeze it down all the way and cut their air all the way off, they'll come back and beat you. And that was, I felt like the way we kind of went through that game, like we had them down a little bit. We had the foot on the throat a little bit, but we just couldn't squeeze off the air all the way. I think Buffalo could. But in the end, I'm going to pick Kansas City because beating Kansas City in Kansas City is a near impossibility. If a team's going to do it, I felt like those teams, I felt like the three teams in the AFC that could have done it were the three that were in the divisional round. I felt like we had a shot. I feel like Baltimore would definitely have done it, even though they haven't beaten them there. I felt like Lamar and Derrick Henry together would have been too much for Kansas City. And I feel like Baltimore's got a shot. But in the end, I feel like Kansas City playing at home is just too good. And the other side, I like the Eagles to beat the Commanders. I feel like the Eagles will be able to run the ball with Saquon Barkley. They'll mix it up. Now, the health of Jalen Hurts becomes a factor, and so does Quinyon Mitchell. Quinyon Mitchell, the rookie from Toledo, had a tremendous year. And if he's banged up going against Jay Daniels in that passing game, man, maybe Washington's going to be able to put up some points. And the last time Washington faced this Eagles defense, Jay Daniels lit them up in the second half like a Christmas tree. So I think the Eagles win a close one. I think the Chiefs find a way and win by a field goal. And we end up getting Chiefs and Eagles in the Super Bowl like we did a couple of years ago.
Talking to John Harris here on TexAgs Live. Johnny, let's just close out with college football. The run that Notre Dame had and the finish that Ohio State had, they were the best team after the Michigan game. That's no doubt about it. So how do you kind of sum up their season, considering that opportunity may have not been given to them in years past, but they certainly found a way to get it done?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was pretty clear Ohio State had the most talented team. And, of course, anybody that hears me say that part, they followed up with, well, yeah, they paid the most money. And, yeah, I mean, that's the way of the world. But, after the Michigan game, I give them credit because all hell is raining down upon them, and they had to right the ship. But they had the right pieces to right the ship. They had Chip Kelly calling plays. Ryan Day's a really good football coach. He's now only the third active coach in college football to have a national championship. So, I mean, there aren't many that do it. And he's now done it. But he got that team's mind right. He got them playing well. They came up with clutch and timely plays. And let's be honest, the Heisman Trophy winner this year is Travis Hunter. But the best football player in college football is Jeremiah Smith. And once Ohio State realized, oh, yeah, he plays for us and we're scarlet and gray, let's throw to him as much as humanly possible, that's when Ohio State's offense went to a different level. And as we saw in the national championship game, when it got nut cutting time, where'd they go? They threw the ball deep to Jeremiah Smith, makes a play, ball game, and they're going to be kissing the rings. But when you look at Ohio State, it was already a talented team. Then you added Caleb Downs from Alabama. Then you added Quinshon Judkins. Then you added Jeremiah Smith. Those three players in and of themselves were they the best players at the universities where they were or the high schools they were? In Jeremiah Smith's case, yes. And so you add those studs to what you already had. You had Latham Ransom at safety. Now you add Caleb Downs to it. Oh, my God. You had Travion Henderson running back. Now you add Quinshon Judkins to it. Oh, my God. You had Emeka Egbuka at wide receiver. Now you add Jeremiah Smith. Oh, my God. So it was the most talented team. It was paid for by a lot of NIL money, and they got it right at the right time. And that's what the playoff allows you to do. And that was something that I think we found out as the Texans, that we had to get in the dance. And then we got in the dance and we started playing better football. We had a chance to kind of get things right against the Chargers, and we got some things right against the Chiefs. And we played a lot better football for the most part. And I think Ohio State found that. That Michigan game gets all in their heads. Will Howard is not playing well. That Michigan defense is very, very good. And all of a sudden you get locked into, oh my God, you just have paralysis. And then all of a sudden you step back when you have time and you go, wait a second, we got to change our offensive flow here. We got to figure out how we get the ball to both of our running backs. We got to figure out how the ball to get the ball to number 4. We got to get Will Howard more involved in everything they were doing. And I think Ohio State figured it out. I give a lot of credit to Notre Dame. I thought they had a hell of a season. I thought they hung in there, and they punched back. And I thought they were dead. 31-7, we all thought they were dead. I almost turned it off. And I thought, you know what? With Marcus Freeman, they got a shot. I'll give them a shot. They'll stay in this thing. And they did. It just came down to Jeremiah Smith being better than everybody else in the field, making one play, kicked the field goal, ball game. So it kind of turned out. And I picked Ohio State at the beginning of the year just for the sole reason of you have the most talent. You should win a championship. So let's roll the dice on the team with the most talent. And it turned out that way. Now, we'll see how that impacts teams going forward with NIL, transfer portal, money, all that kind of stuff. So that's going to get really conflicting and confusing, as we talked about. But it's been one hell of a season in college football. I think there are great things ahead. Even though the SEC did not win it this year, I think the SEC will be just fine going forward. And I think A&M will be just fine going forward. And I'm really excited about what they can do in 25.
Johnny, have a great week, brother. Thanks so much for your time.
Got you, brother. See you.
See you. John Harris there on the Boss Firearms Hotline. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with Coach Henry. Right now, we're talking about Milliken Reserve. They're an awesome place. They're a community that features homes, trails, farms, and wide open spaces. They have an awesome curated sets of on-site experiences, creating a healthier backyard at Milliken Reserve. They work closely with a handful of local community partners to craft a healthy and educational opportunity, bringing people together to revel in some awesome events in the wildlife, agriculture, recreation, and the arts. A couple of their events coming up: volunteer at the farm on the 24th. You've got the farm stand on the 25th. Trail running with the Lone Star Trail Runners. That is coming up on the 25th as well. Gardening 101. And you've got some more volunteer at the farm. And Take It to the Trails, another running event. So it's a great place to go. If you want to learn more information, go to millikenreserve.com. That is millikenreserve.com. And we're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It's time for our weekly conversation with Pat Henry, brought to you by the Brazos Running Company, your local Aggie-owned specialty running store, your local source for Viore athletic wear, duck camp apparel, in Century Square below the Star Cinema Grill in College Station. Coach Henry, a frigid day this morning. How are you?
Too cold for us.
Yeah, well, it's
a nice time to have indoor.
I don't like the cold. I don't mind visiting the cold.
No.
I don't want the cold in my home field.
No. If we were training outside the last couple of days, it'd been tough.
Yeah.
But we're fortunate enough to be able to train inside now, so that's good.
So I guess we'll start things off with the Corky Classic. I saw 3 school records and just a really phenomenal output for your team.
No, we're just, that's only our second competition. So, people are starting to get the motor going. Mm-hmm. And we have a new pole vaulter in, Sasha Solovev, is the way you say it, I think.
I'm going to go with it.
Yeah. But he's a great vaulter. He jumped 18:10 this weekend. That's a tremendous jump. New school record.
Yep.
Kennedy Wade ran a really good 600. We don't run very many 600s. That's what we ran when we were in the Big 12. We ran a lot of those. So for her to break our school record for that event, we ran the 600 for a long time. It's really a great accomplishment. And then Lucas Santorum ran 2:21 in the 1,000, and that's a great run as well. So we had 3 people really have great performances. And we had some other things, too. Mile relay ladies had the national lead, but Arkansas was having them meet at the same time, and Arkansas ran just a tiny bit faster than we did. Faster. So, we're running well right now, and I'm pleased with that group. Our men's relay, we got beat, but we weren't running our whole 4 on there. So, we got to be healthy, and we're trying to get healthy right now.
I'm looking at some of Luca and Kennedy's notes here. Long-standing school records. Did you see something in the training leading up to it for that kind of performance?
Yeah, Kennedy's been doing a little bit more work at 800-meter work instead of all 400-meter work with me. So I think it's been a good change for her. She didn't even run on the 4x4 this week, so it sends a good message to her. She's capable of doing some things. And then Luca, he's new to us. He ran cross country, didn't look very good in cross country, but a short half-miler guy, it is hard to look good in cross country. So the training was good for him. Not normally, normally I wouldn't keep a half-miler running cross country, but this guy is a little bit different, so we left him in that training.
And then Solovev now has won 2 straight meets, breaking a school record in pole vaulting.
Yeah.
Anything about his technical development that stands out?
No, Joe's doing a real good job with him. Joe Serra is my vault coach, and he's doing a great job. This kid is very, very talented. He's one of the best in the world right now, and so he's a big guy. He's about 6'2", and he can run fast. And that's what it takes to be a great vaulter anymore.
Winnie making her debut in an A&M uniform. Triple jump. Any thoughts on
Winnie B?
Winnie B. Is that how you pronounce it? I saw the 2 eyes.
Yeah, she jumped 40.
That's a great name.
Yeah. No, she's at 43.10 triple jumper right now, and that's a big improvement even from last week. So that shows a little bit about the team, just starting to get underneath ourselves. We're starting to do some things a little bit better.
And I see Kamar leading a showing in the men's 800. 4 athletes in the top 8.
Yeah. Kamar is he got beat not by a more talented guy. The guy ran a little smarter race than he did. So
is that right?
So, but it's good for him right now. It's good for Kamar. He's a great athlete, and he's getting caught up in that same thing that the quarterback from New Mexico State and Vanderbilt, he's going to have another year because of he went to junior college at the right time. So we have 2 or 3 athletes that are going to be caught up in that too. So that's going to be good for us too.
So I'm looking at Mesha's numbers, 52:05 in the 400, kind of ahead of the pace she was at last year.
Yeah, no, she's running real well.
Yeah.
And she's just maturing in the event. She's starting to understand it a little bit better, and it's just not go out there and run full blast. You got to be technical about what you're doing.
What can you tell me about Deborah Chernono? Am I pronouncing it Cherono? Sorry.
She
college debut in the mile.
Yeah, she hadn't been with us long.
Yeah.
You did a good job with the name.
Thank you.
We don't know exactly what she's going to be. I think she's going to be a good miler. We have a 3K indoors, but I think that might be a little bit long for her. So I was impressed with her first mile. I think she has the talent to be very, very good.
And both days of competition, were you, I guess, pleased where you are right now heading into some busy time coming up?
Yeah. The team's doing well. We have a good team, and the kids compete hard. You can. It's like a ladder. It's the next step. Each meet's the next step up, and so competition gets a little bit better each week, and that's what we want. And it gets a little bit better here this weekend. So we have a good meet here this weekend.
And you get the Ted Nelson Invitational coming up this weekend.
Right.
Any particular areas of focus, or just follow the process?
Hit it. Yeah, and just be consistent. Be consistent with what you did last week, and if you do, you have the opportunity to be just a little bit better, because just understanding your event better, no matter who you are, and coming in there with some intention for yourself, walk in the door and know, what am I trying to accomplish today, and use your training, and then be able to walk out the door that evening and say to yourself, I got done what I was going to try to get done today. That's what we're trying to do right now.
14 teams coming. I believe it's 14.
Yeah.
So it'll be a quality meet.
Yeah, I heard from Auburn this morning. They're having a hard time getting to the airport, I think. So Auburn might not be here. Georgia's here. South Carolina's here. Vanderbilt's here out of the conference. And then we have, Air Force, Houston, SMU, TCU, Texas State. We have a number of schools here this weekend that have good programs. UTSA is coming here. So it'll be a good competitive meet. And it starts at right about noon, and then it's over about 4:30. So about 4 hours.
Yeah.
And we'll shoot the gun. We'll get people going, and it's a good event to watch because it's not very long.
You can go Friday for a little bit as well, right? The weight
throw.
Yeah,
but Friday is just the hammer throw,
okay.
Just the weight throw indoors. So we have no other events along with it.
Okay, and then Saturday, full day of events, but it's compressed into that 5-hour period.
Yeah, 4 hours and 30 minutes or so. Yep.
Excited about it when people come to visit your place?
Yeah, SEC is here this weekend or this year. So the conference schools are all coming in to figure out what's going on, and that's good.
Are they already here, or do they come later in the week because of the weather?
No, they'll come. Well, I think Auburn was trying to get out of there today.
Right.
So I don't know exactly what they're going to do. I guess it was pretty bad up there.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the schools are coming in on Thursday evening.
Coach Henry, I appreciate you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Come watch the meet. I think you'd enjoy it, and it doesn't last that long, and you can get in there and see a whole lot of stuff.
It'll be a great time.
Yep.
Coach Pat Henry here in studio, and of course that is brought to you by the Brazos Running Company. When we come back here on TexAgs Live, we will talk to Coach Schuberth, little basketball as they get ready for Ole Miss. That and more, it's TexAgs Live. And we're back, TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. My friend, Tom Schuberth, in studio to talk a little Aggie hoops. Coach Schuberth, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, David. Thanks for having me.
So, at the break, we were talking about some of the negative things. We'll get to that. I want to go positive. Wade Taylor's back. And my friend, that gives me optimism when you get your best player, veteran best player, who has been down this road before. Just your thoughts on Wade coming back and how he looked.
Oh, it was
LSU.
great. I was at the LSU game. In fact, I sat right behind the LSU bench. There's a good booster friend of mine, and I sat right there. And the first basket, Wade made that little runner floater off the backboard. It was great to see that and get his confidence back. And, anytime you've been injured and you get on the court, it takes a while, and I guarantee you, and I know he's got great nerves of steel, but I'll bet you he was nervous. I'll bet you there were some butterflies because, it's something that's important to him, and it's important that Aggies have him back. But it was great to see him, and, I thought it was a spark to the victory. Was it Tuesday night, Wednesday night? Yep.
Well, and I think the return of Wade is going to do a lot for guys like Zurich Phelps, right? Because if he gets the double, somebody's going to be open, and that guy can score.
Absolutely. Anytime you play with a great player, it benefits you, even though you might not be the guy scoring the points, but eventually you're going to get better looks, and they've got to focus on Wade Taylor. I guarantee every team in the SEC, their game plan is to take Wade Taylor out of rhythm and try to disrupt him, which allows other players freedom and opportunities to get easy shots, and sometimes just to not have the ball pressure on you.
Right.
Phelps not having the best defender on him, bringing the ball up the floor, makes him fresher at the end of the game.
Yeah, no doubt about that. If you're an opposing coach and you see that A&M recently has been struggling from the charity stripe, right? Do you go into it in these scenarios, guys, we're just going to foul them. We're going to make them earn it? Or do you not want to do that until maybe the end of the game? Or is that something that coaches don't even think about?
I think the great coaches do it all the time. Analytics is so important in any sport, but particularly basketball, when it comes to free throw shooting, every player, even the last guy on the team and scouting report, knows who to foul and not to foul. And so not to foul Wade Taylor if you're playing Texas A&M in any scenario. To foul Pharrell Payne because he's a poor free throw shooter. And again, I'm not being critical of him, but ironically, when he left Minnesota, he was a 47% free throw shooter, shot 60% from the floor. So he's right on schedule, but he's actually doing better. He's 56, 55%. And one of the reasons the Ags free throws are so down at 66%, 2 out of every 3, is the worst free throw shooters are having the most attempts. You have your best free throw shooter, Wade Taylor, out of the games. So Payne has gone to the line more than anybody, and that's a credit to the opposition. If Payne catches the ball in the paint, you're fouling him.
Right.
The old hack a Shaq. And especially, David, to me, when a foul 7, 8, 9, when a team commits their 7th and 8th and 9th foul, it's only a 1-and-1.
Right.
So you got to make the first one to get the second. When it gets to foul 10, then it's a 2-shot foul. And when a poor free throw shooter goes to the line, when you have 2 shots, I think most coaches think, man, I hope we just even get 1 out of 2. On the 1-and-1, you're dreading it. You're hating the fact that you got a poor free throw shooter up there.
Coach, I am sure Buzz Williams does not want me talking about the free throw shooting because a thing can become a thing. And it is certainly a thing. I use it 3 times in a sentence with this team. So how do you coach your team when it's such a mental thing?
Well, again, you probably don't talk about it. And then I think sometimes fans think that poor free throw shooters don't work on their free throws. The guys that are probably the worst in ladies, worst free throw shooters on a team in college, they probably attempt more free throws in practice. They try to get a rhythm and a confidence. And as you know, in sports, confidence is so big. And so the more you talk about it, the more they think about it, the less their confidence builds. So I think you just got to live with it. I'm big on routines. And one of my pet peeves is we used to say, if you step to the line and you make a free throw, don't change, right? I see all these guys, they make a free throw and they're high-fiving 7, 8, 9 guys. Now they got to go back to the line, readjust. They just were successful. The same reverse. If you have a 2-shot foul and you shoot one and miss it, you should step off the line, readjust, and try it again. So that's just personal. But I think routines and in anything like golf, basketball, football, you name it, when you're good at it and you do it over and over, the memory muscles take over, and then it's just confidence after that.
Is there any way, or have you heard of any creative ways to simulate the tense moments of a game? Because it's one thing to shoot it in the gym after practice, right? All right, everybody's got to make 100 before you leave. That's different than like having the pressure of people booing you and the sounds and the gravity of the moment in the game.
That's a great question, David. There's a lot of things that people do. One of them is, when you put your guys on the free throw line at the end of practice, a lot of coaches do this. If you make it, you don't have to run. If you miss it, the whole team runs. I've seen coaches have only the team run, and the guy that misses it doesn't adds more pressure. One of the things we used to do, and I implemented it 40 years ago from a coach, when you play a scrimmage game like or pickup basketball, the team that makes the guy that makes the winning basket, he has to then step to the free throw line and make a free throw for that last basket to count. If he misses it, then the game continues. So you put in that free throw to win the basketball game every time. And then you got to play strategy. You may not throw the ball to Burrell Payne at the end of a pickup game, because if he makes the winning basket, now he's got to step to the line and make that free throw. So there's a lot of innovation that coaches try to come up with. And I guarantee you, coaches are open to suggestions. I mean, I remember writing coaches in my young career, asking them when their teams were really good with free throws, why were they such a good free throw shooting team? And you know what it comes back to a lot of times? We recruited good free throw shooters, So Wade Taylor is going to make free throws because he's a great free throw shooter. He is also a clutch player. And I know I'm rambling on this, but the last thing I say about free throws, to me, timely free throws are the essence of importance. Everybody says, well, missed one in the first half is the same. It's really not. When you have guys that can step up there and make big free throws, which we have in the past, I don't think we've missed big free throws in prior years. We've usually stepped up. Even guys that were in the 60s and 70s made them. So I think it's just got to fight through it and hope you make the big ones and keep your fingers crossed.
Is this a good matchup for A&M against Ole Miss? Because I thought Bama and Kentucky, along with being really good, size-wise was not an advantage for A&M. This one I feel like is kind of equal, at least physically.
I love this matchup. I think Ole Miss is favored by 4 or 5 points. I love A&M in this game. And I wrote yesterday about, ironically, what Ole Miss presents is really good guards that shoot the three, and they're athletic and they move the ball. That usually presents a problem for the A&M defense. But for some reason, I just think the Aggies match up really well against Ole Miss, similar to how they did against Houston. How Houston gives problems to every team in the country with their pressure. A&M just has their number, and I think tonight they do too. Last year, the last game of the season, the regular season at home, both were fighting for trying to get in the tournament, and A&M went over there and to me embarrassed Ole Miss. I felt sorry for Coach Beard. I thought the players quit on him. It was senior night, and I'm waiting for them to pick it up. So they beat them 26 points at home, then turned around and beat them in the SEC tournament. So I think A&M's going to have a great outing tonight.
Well, you mentioned, and we got to hit a break here, but you mentioned the three-point shooting. That always worries me against A&M, because it's like there's always a guy who's going to have a career night against this defense. And part of that is by design, not for them to have a design career night, but you want that third pass to go to the three-point shooter who typically doesn't hit the threes.
Absolutely, and that's what teams should do. If you have a formula to beat A&M, don't take quick shots, don't turn it over. You got to move the ball and shoot threes. And even if you don't get the offensive rebound, don't let them hurt you in transition. If you do that, you're going to have a chance. But what A&M does great, they're always in the ball game.
Well, they have 5 guys at a time that can shoot the three, so that worries me. We'll come back with one more segment with Coach Schuberth. Right now, let's talk about Bird Dog. They're an Aggie-owned and operated company creating access to hunting opportunities. I took a hunt with them a couple of months back. It was an awesome, awesome time. Really highly recommend what they do. They do that, but they're also making it easy for the landowners, right? So I'm thinking of it from the hunter's perspective, but how about the landowner's perspective? They can get more hunters on your ranch. They're doing that, and they're also making money for their ranch owners because they're going to find you some aggregate tax benefits. Most of you know about ag exemptions and wildlife, but there's many more opportunities for you. If you are farming or running cattle on your land, Bird Dog will optimize and find you the tax benefits, and some of their clients are making an extra $100 to $500 per acre of land. They can be your personal consultant and help you maximize the income on your land. The website is birddogit.com. That is birddogit.com. Go check them out. Hello. Hello. I'm just making it awkward. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Kaylee Dreyer is there. Kaylee, you love basketball. You got a question for us.
I do. So, Coach Schuberth, we know A&M is known for their rebounding more than anything. How do you think that can affect the game tonight against Ole Miss?
Well, obviously, they're one of the best rebounding teams in the country, and Ole Miss is just +2 in the rebounding column. The one thing I like the advantage for the Aggies is that they don't worry about necessarily making their first shot. It's about scoring in that opportunity. So if you get 2 and 3 attempts at it and you score, even though your field goal percentage may be 33%, 40% during that possession, it shows 100% OER. You scored on that possession. And that's what coaches, I think, look at about their offense, which leads to offensive and defensive rebounding. If you get the offensive rebound, it continues to stay in that possession. And if you score at the end of it, you're 100% offensive efficiency, and that's what you're trying to achieve.
Coach, I don't know if you heard the first segment, but I told OB, I expect, and I don't know if it's tonight, this week, but real soon we're about to have that Wade Taylor game. And look, he has played, I know he's missed some time, and he just came back against LSU, but I'm talking about one of those games that we saw so often the last few years, which I don't know if we've seen it yet because he hasn't had to. He's got the playmakers around him, but I feel like he's knocking on the door of one of those like, oh, that's Wade Taylor.
I've been waiting for him too, and not to be, again, critical of him. I think part of it is he's deferred, and then also the teams are keying on him. But, yes, he's going to have a couple of them, maybe multiple ones, David, before the season's over. But what I love about him, and again, this team's attitude, is that all they're worried about is winning, and that's what the great teams do, and that's what's going to be fun tonight. I really think A&M's going to win, and you and I both, I think, been pretty close on predicting how the team's going to respond to certain situations, and I'm going out on a limb here, but I just think they're a good road team, and even though they don't match up good because of the three-point shooting and the way Ole Miss spreads the ball.
In other areas, they match up well, though.
Absolutely. The offensive rebounding, and then A&M brings that defense as well. So I think it'll be a tremendous basketball game and a great opportunity. Losing early, in the conference, sometimes it's bad for your record. But ironically, I think most of the teams are going to be, real close at the end. So this isn't a must-win, obviously, but it would certainly give the Aggies a step up. I do want to change. I used to think 9-9 would be good for the Aggies. As I look at the schedule, I think they're going to be above 500 in the SEC.
Hope so, Coach Schuberth. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David.
Appreciate it. All right, when we come back here on TexAgs Live, Jason Howell, Recruiting Country. That and more, it's TexAgs. And we're back on TexAgs Live. I didn't realize I was on camera. It is time for Recruiting Country. Brought to you by American Momentum Bank, the only privately owned bank headquartered in Bryan, College Station. American Momentum Bank is committed to helping our community prosper by offering you a wide array of personal and business banking solutions specifically designed to help build financial success with confidence and momentum on your side. We go to the boss, Firearms Hotline, Jason Howell. Jason, it's been a minute. How you been, buddy?
Hey, I've been good. I got a little vacation time in there. Got to spend some time on the beach in the sun. Good food and friends, and I am back. And it's been I'm rejuvenated. Let's go.
Well, I was going to ask you about that because I don't think we're allowed to take time off. But you took some time off. Ronnie took some time off. Unlike me, who I've been slaving at the desk for months nonstop.
Well, hey, you got to get that work in on the vacation. We all know that. Hey, I snuck in a few articles and some things like that. But it's the perks of having a job that can be a little bit mobile at times.
At times you can be mobile, and we can report from anywhere. Let's talk about over the weekend the big pickup for the Ags, tight end wise. Tell me a little bit about Amari. What can you tell me?
Yeah, I mean, it brings a lot of great size, 6'4", 245, known mainly as a pass catcher at the tight end position. Big target, had a really great 2023 at Alabama where, he set himself apart and made some pretty big plays there for the Crimson Tide. And then last year, didn't really get a whole lot of opportunities at Texas for one reason or another, but the relationship there with I think with Coach Holman Wiggins, who helped recruit him to Tuscaloosa to begin with, and then the ability as a pass catcher, I think those were a couple things that immediately caught A&M's eye. He took his only visit, I think, after entering the portal to Texas A&M, and it was a done deal before the weekend was over. So, A&M got in and made hay pretty quickly there to land a guy that makes the roster a little bit better.
Well, I was going to say that tight end room certainly got a different feel to it this year. I mean, obviously Theo's there, but you got some guys who can block, and now a guy who can stretch the field a little bit.
Absolutely. I think, you got to feel good about what the weapons you have there. You have some versatility. You have some guys that can do a little bit of everything. Some guys who can sub in different packages and things like that and give you a different look. So I know Colin Klein likes to use that tight end, and he's definitely got some weapons there and some guys that can do a few different things.
Does it? I don't think it does, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. Does it raise any eyebrows when a guy's been at 3 different schools in 3 years? Or no, David, this is just kind of life in college football, college athletics in today's age of the portal and NIL?
Yeah, it really doesn't, honestly. Like you said, this is kind of the day and age we're living in. You got guys moving around and making, trying to look for their best opportunity. And I think the relationship there with the coaches, the history as far as knowing what he brings to the table on the field, in practices and things like that, I think that definitely helps. And just the demeanor and locker room type of guy he is definitely, I think that helps ease any worries, kind of ease the mind a little bit if you are worried about some of that. But it's the day and age. Guys are moving around and teams are pushing guys out. So it's a two-way door. It's not just a one-way street there. So
yeah, and I get it. And it's but this was a pretty big need, Jason, right? Like,
yeah.
I know they felt comfortable with what they had. They didn't have to have another pass catcher at that position, but considering the wide receiver room looks different, they wanted to give another option to Marcel to throw to.
Yeah, I mean, he's a big target. and I think A&M was in the market for a big target, whether that be a receiver or a tight end, and I think Amari gives them something in that form. So this is it was a big need when you see Noah Thomas leave and head out. You need to try and address it. And I'm not saying this is a 1-for-1 kind of comparison at all, but he is a big target, known for his receiving ability, and a guy that you can flex out. You can do a number of different things and different than Noah, but it's a guy that Marcel Reed can easily find out there with that size.
All right, I know A&M loses out to the Penn State transfer Wallace, who went to Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
I think the ad drop date's done, right? So, can you still see some movement, you think, over the next couple of days, or you think until the spring portal, it is what it is?
Well, you wait and see what happens over the next few days. We were kind of watching after the national championship game. Hey, if the right kind of target, I know A&M still looking probably at receiver, D-line. You'd probably like to add a body or two there, a player of note. So if the right kind of a person hits the portal, then I'm sure it would draw an eye. But yeah, there's no known targets just yet, and I would say it's more than likely going to end up being the spring portal window before things are new additions are added.
If you got a question for Jason, you can do it multiple ways. You can text the show 979-693-1150. We'll read that text and that question here on the program, or you can send it on the TexAgs chat or on the YouTube chat as well. All right, so how would you gauge or grade? I know you don't have to give me an actual letter grade, but just how do you think they did in the portal, considering we're on the steps of it being closed, at least this particular version?
Well, I think going in, you wanted to hit receiver, D-line, and those two positions in particular. And, they gave it everything they could. They went both barrels, in and tried to address those. I think they got some really good additions at both of those positions. But I still think you're looking there for maybe a piece or two at both as the dust settles and you look towards the spring. But overall, I think they did a really good job of keeping key contributors from going into the portal that are currently on the roster, and then they brought in some guys that they think can really help and add to the roster. You look at that DB group that they brought in, and you've got some real players there that can make some waves fairly early, and you've got some edge guys. You got some intriguing pieces on the defensive line. We've talked about the receiver and tight end group, and you add experience at quarterback right off the bat. That I think was, also a big need right from the start, and they hit the ground running. So I give them, I don't know what grade. I'll give them a solid B, and we'll see what happens in the spring. Maybe a addition or two there, but overall, I think they did a really good job of being flexible with the portal and moving with the ebbs and flows and giving guys a good look and getting guys on campus and making things happen when they had the opportunity.
Remind the audience, Jason, too, because the next portal window is significantly shorter, right? It's only a few days. Am I right about that? The spring one, or it's not long?
Yeah, it's not quite as long, and there are more restrictions. Like you're not going to see guys moving from SEC team to SEC team, but shoot, the way these rules change, who knows? I mean, it seems like every day there's a new thing that's happening that changes the dynamic of the whole deal. But right now, yeah, I think it's 15 days next time. So it's not quite as long, and there are a few more restrictions out there. But then you have the grad transfers that are always eligible, and it's fun times in college football.
Yeah, no doubt. Talking to Jason Howell here on TexAgs. Let's talk about the couple junior days now in the books. Let's talk about the most recent one. How did it go?
Yeah, it went really well. They had 11 states represented in this with 22 prospects. So it was a small group of really, really top-notch prospects, key targets. A lot of these national guys are prospects that were making their way back. So these are return visitors, and so you've got some guys who are really interested. But you also had like a Nick Abrams, who is a stud linebacker out of Maryland, who was making his first trip. Man, let me tell you, when it comes to linebacker prospects and around the country, keep an eye on him. He's rated about a mid-level 4-star right now. I got a feeling his stock is rising. I know A&M, he let him know how much of a priority he was. I think Jay Bateman basically told him, if I could draw up a linebacker, you're that guy. You have the size, you have the speed, the quickness and all that stuff that we look for. And he definitely shows it on tape. And he's a guy that after his visit, this was his first trip, he said, I'm coming back. So A&M made a strong impression there. They had Trayshawn Ruffin back in town, who, people were going to remember when he committed. One of the things that happened was he said, I'm still looking at my options, or not, still open. Well, this weekend, in the interview he gave us, he shut that door big time. A&M is his home, and he loves everything about A&M, and he couldn't have said it more emphatically how much he is not only locked in with the Aggies, but how much he loves the staff and what Coach Tony Girardetti and Coach Spencer are doing out there on the defensive line, and Coach Elko in particular. He mentioned Coach Derek Miller, the GM, who's played a significant role there. There were a number of guys, 22 total prospects, and every one of them holding an offer from Texas A&M, and all of them came in with multiple offers from across the country. So 26 and 27, all of them got a lot of great attention with the staff. No new commitments, but that wasn't necessarily the focus. This was about furthering relationships and, getting every one of these guys talked about coming back for another visit, which is exactly what you wanted. To let them know what the A&M's about, get them back around the staff, and get them excited about coming back.
Talking to Jason Howell here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Jason, I want to go back to something you mentioned. 11 states, right, were represented. I'm going to read those states just to kind of give you a feel for exactly what they were. And if you want, I almost threw something off the stage. 11 states, here they are: Texas, Missouri, Louisiana, Mississippi, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, New Jersey, Maryland, and Cali. Some of the states we're mentioning are typically the places you expect to get the top tier guys. So kind of elaborate a little bit on that.
Well, yeah, I think A&M's made some inroads with some top targets in Louisiana. This year they're definitely looking at a national group. It showed in both junior days, really. But you also had a strong group from the state of Texas. So they're not leaving the state of Texas. 9 prospects from the state of Texas. You had Florida and Georgia in there, as you would expect. North Carolina, represented by Trayshawn Ruffin. You had a couple guys from New Jersey, both from Bergen Catholic, one of the top programs up there in New Jersey and in the Northeast. And overall, it was this is just a showing of the efforts Elko and staff are making to continue the work of making A&M a national brand.
Well, and New Jersey's been good to A&M, right? Like the last couple of years, Philadelphia's been good. So they have been able to do really well in the East Coast and obviously flip that to the West Coast.
Yeah, and hey, credit goes to former defensive line coach Elijah Robinson, who helped those efforts. But a head coach named Mike Elko also has some really strong Northeast ties and knows a thing or two about recruiting that area, as well as Coach Chaos, who's done some work up in that area, and they continue that bringing that talent down. But as you mentioned, California, there was only one California prospect in town, but don't sleep on Richard Wesley. He's a defensive end. I think he's already about 6'5", 260 in the 2027 class with everybody on him. So getting him to town was a major accomplishment, just put it that way. And it sounds like the Aggies are going to be a team that continues to draw his attention over the next few years. A lot of work to go there, but that California pipeline, getting in on another big-time target out of the West Coast.
Hey, Jason, what can you tell me about this Valdosta, Georgia quarterback, Jace Johnson, 6'3", 195 pounds, 1,800 yards passing last year, 16 touchdowns and 3 picks.
Yeah, he's going to pass the eyeball test. I want to say he may have checked in over 6'4", 200 pounds, but he's a guy that he's seen his stock rise over the year. You watch his highlight reel, and he looks like he's got a strong arm, and he's got a quick release, and he's a big dude back there compared to his competition. So he's a young kid. I want to say he's been on the radar of college programs since before his 8th grade year. So he's going to be a national prospect, and A&M getting him on campus and jumping in the mix and making that offer in person. I think are a few things that they did to leave an impression, and Coach Klein and them are going to give him a good look, and I look for him to be one of the guys they watch closely in that 27 class.
All right, we'll hit a break here. We'll come back with more. I'll ask you about some more prospects. I know there's some questions coming in for you. Right now, we're talking Rollo Insurance. The difference is real. They're an independent insurance company built around educating you on exactly what you're paying for. They do the shopping for you so that you can accomplish all of your insurance goals. They've got 60 offices in the great state of Texas, but their headquarters is right here in College Station on Highway 6. Jason and Jackson Rollo are incredible when it comes to just taking care of you. The whole team there is fantastic. You see Jason and Jackson all around town. Priorities matter to them, God, family, and country. It's not just what they do. It's the kind of people that they are at the Rollo Insurance Group. They want to make you feel special. Free yourself from the fatigue of corporate gamesmanship. Restore your confidence in the value of relationship-centered consultation. Check out the website, rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. You'll see an opening video that I'm a part of, and start a conversation with your own personal agent today, or call them up, 888-44-ROLLO. It is rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. We go back to the Boss Firearms Hotline. Jason Howell's with us here on Recruiting Country. And Jason, how much snow did you guys get up there? I don't think the Metroplex got hit hard, right? Or am I wrong?
We didn't get any around here in the Flower Mound Denton area.
Okay.
Not at my house. Not this time around. Now at the 1st of January, there was some nice little snow, but I was down in San Antonio, so I missed it both times.
All right. It is Recruiting Country, brought to you by American Momentum Bank, as I try to copy myself as I speak. We go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Kaylee, I know you got a question from Randy for good old Jason.
Yeah, so Randy says, Jason, will this class be in-state heavy or more out-of-state?
I think we're seeing right now, it's looking like it's going to be out-of-state, I guess, heavy, or there's going to be more out-of-state guys in this class. It looks like, as in terms of what's the norm for what we've seen.
Jason, what can you tell me about Jabari Mack, the wide receiver out of Louisiana?
Do what now?
Jabari Mack.
What about him? Yeah, he was in town, and he's a guy that I guess A&M's right there in the mix for. He mentioned, I think, Texas, LSU, and there was one other school along with A&M that were really coming on strong, but he's got a top 10. He's talking about making it back to College Station this spring. And I look for the Aggies to get a visit there, official visit, and when that time comes. But he's looking at making a decision in April. He gave a window, April to July. He's still trying to figure it out, but I think he's looking at a preseason decision. He loved his visit. He talked about how A&M, he loved how Elko showed his family just as much attention as they did him, and how much his family really enjoyed just being back in College Station. So he's made multiple trips, and he talked about knowing guys on both sides of the A&M LSU basketball game and how cool it was to watch that atmosphere. So made another big impression there.
Jason, I saw one of the posts you had, Coaches Busy on the Road, and the first thing you see is a tweet from Hila Monkasuga, who's going to be a stud, right? And with Colin Klein visiting, he and his family, it looked like a bunch of people in the picture.
Yeah, they had a big group, and they made sure to give Colin Klein a Hawaiian feast while he was in town. They had some poke and I think some teriyaki, some short ribs, teriyaki short ribs, or spare ribs. And man, it was, I actually just caught up with him, and we should have an interview coming up shortly where he talks about his rehab process in the spring. He suffered a Lisfranc injury in the first of the season, but he's well on his way. There's a video of him out there throwing around the football that he just posted this morning. So he's making some waves, and we talked about Jerome Miles, who he played a big role in helping to recruit to A&M. He's excited for his future in Aggie land, and he definitely rolled out the red carpet for Coach Klein as they talked about, everything from what's coming up in the spring, the rehab process, and all that stuff to, just sitting back, relaxed, talking about family and life. So,
Jason, I know Trooper Taylor was busy talking to the Edwards brothers there in Carthage. Talk a little bit about them and the pursuit of both big brother and little brother.
Well, yeah, JD's still got a bit to go as a 28, but he shows a lot of potential there as a all-purpose receiver, running back type. And KJ has been on the radar since his freshman year. A&M is Trooper Taylor went by there, and A&M has made him one of the top running back targets in this class. If you're looking for a position that's going to be in-state heavy, I think running back's probably right up there on the list. With guys like KJ and Jonathan Hatton and some of those other guys out there. But KJ he was telling me how much he just loves seeing Coach Trooper Taylor and the energy he brings, and getting to sit down and meet with him. And he's looking forward to getting back out soon. I think his next trip, though, is going to be this Texas Junior Day coming up this weekend. So doesn't have anything locked in for A&M, but I look for that to change over the next few weeks and over the course of the spring.
Talking to Jason Howell here on TexAgs. So I saw Des Bryant, I think it was a tweet, I'm pretty sure it was a tweet, talking about his son getting the offer. What can you tell us about Des Bryant Jr.?
Well, actually, I just talked to his trainer out here, and I was told he's not the biggest guy. I think he's listed at like 5'10", 160 pounds right now. I'm trying to pull it up right now. I'm glad you asked about him because he played varsity this year, so he's got varsity experience. And the book on him, really strong hands. He does a great job in traffic, making those contested catches. And he may not be the biggest guy, but he's hard to tackle, and people don't want to get near him when he's on the run. So he brings a lot to the table. Who would have thought Des Bryant would have a kid that plays a physical brand of football regardless of how big he is right now. So at 2028 out of Colleyville Heritage, and A&M was the first to put an offer on the table for a guy that's sure to continue his rise, already working with older guys, older receivers, both college and high school, highly rated guys. So you can expect to hear Des Bryant Jr. More than a few times over the next few years.
Well, you say he's a 28, so that 5'10" size, I mean, his dad was 6'2", 220, right? So
it's not hard. I mean, he's already. I'm told he has big hands, and I'm sure he's like a puppy. He's still got plenty of room to grow. So I don't expect that size to stay the same. And like you said, his dad was plenty big, and I'm sure Des Jr. will be. He may not be as big, but I'm sure he'll be just fine.
Jason, what's on your agenda for the next week?
Well, we've got me and Kate are going to a couple camps. We got Next Level Athlete. That's always one of our favorite camps. We get a lot of headshots. We see a lot of guys that are starting to really jump into the recruiting process as far as picking up steam and things like that. I've got an article or interview coming up with KJ Edwards as well today, and we're continuing to track down some of these guys who've been in town over the last few weeks, and some of the guys that A&M's visited. I hear there's a big visit today to see Mr. Jackson Cantwell, a little 5-star who was recently in town for the January 11th Junior Day. So, there's a lot of things brewing, and we're continuing to track the movements over across the street as they hit the road and make waves on the recruiting trail.
Jason, great stuff, brother. Thanks so much for your time.
Anytime, man. Always appreciate you.
See you, man. When we come back here on TexAgs Live, Pounding the Pebble with Luke Evangelist. He'll be here. Tap's busy working, so we'll talk to Luke and break down all things Aggie basketball. Right now, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet. You can find them on Highway 21 in Caldwell, online at caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. Of course, they have a great selection of vehicles. When you're going there, you know you're going to get a great selection. And when you go on the lot, you're going to be blown away by the selection, but also by the customer service there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. They are locally owned and Aggie operated, and they have complimentary pickup and delivery for their service customers. They have free oil changes for life of your purchase as long as you own that vehicle from Caldwell Country Chevrolet. They're a proud supporter of Aggie athletics, and they have a strong and committed sales staff with many, many years of making sure that their customers have an excellent experience. Remember, it's not a far drive. We're talking 15 minutes, the edge of Bryant to the beginnings of Caldwell. A short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. And as a reminder, the final segment of the program is brought to you by Doubles Dave's. That's at 10:50 here in about 13 minutes. But right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggie Land since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledays.com and your favorites are on their way. Pounding the pebble for the third straight week. Luke, the bearded evangelist.
Yes.
What's up with the facial hair?
It's just, it's a snow week.
Yeah.
People are feeling lazy, and so this is just my way of, letting myself go a little bit.
Is that the only reason?
Yeah. Actually, no, it's not. I can't shave my facial hair until A&M hits 70% of their free throws. And it's been a while.
I actually don't know the answer to this, and Haley, you may need to look this up. Do you know when the last time they shot above 70 or above?
I want to say they shot 75% against Purdue or Texas Tech, one of those games.
So in the non-conference?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to say they hit like 70 or 71 against Texas.
Okay.
Or Oklahoma. One of those two games.
Okay. Well, she'll look it up.
But it's been a while since they hit 75 or better.
Look, I keep bringing it up because I think that is the Achilles heel this season, right? If there's a thing that worries me about close games, it's that. I don't want to make it worse. Look, obviously, I have a role in this show is to talk about the facts, and that is one of the facts, that they need to be better from there. And I think everybody on that team, I just hope they're not listening to the show. I hope, and I don't think Buzz listens to the show. So I think they're good there. I do think they're going to, when I say figure it out, I think they'll get back to what their season average is.
Yeah.
And I think at this point, I'll live with that. I'll live with 67%, right?
Yeah, well, they weren't the best free throw shooting team to begin with, but they were making them when it mattered most. Like after they blew those 2 late leads against Oregon and UCF, you saw for pretty much a month straight, it was back-to-back 1 or 2 possession games, and they were always hitting free throws late to close that. Think about Manny hitting 4 in a row against Purdue. Even against Texas Tech, they shot pretty well. I don't know the percentage off the top of my head, but when they needed free throws late to close it out, like Texas Tech hit 3 straight threes late in that game, and A&M just kept extending the lead at the free throw line, going 2 for 2, 2 for 2, 2 for 2. So even though their averages weren't great, they're not going to shoot 80%. They've only done that once against Ohio State. They were going to make them when it mattered most. And so when you can't get that, and your normal average is horrible too over the last couple of weeks, it's just a recipe for disaster, because this is a team that is predicated on getting to the free throw line, getting you in foul trouble, and if they can just make 70% or better, they're going to be fine. But when you start dipping to 50 or 60, it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, it is. And I just don't know, because we saw this, was it 2 seasons ago where they really struggled from the line and it didn't get better?
I think it was 3 seasons ago.
3 seasons
Because
ago.
2 seasons ago, they were like a really good free throw
There was
shooting
one year,
team.
they came back from the year after, like, who
they were
is this?
shooting like 75.9% for the year, and then it just hasn't been the same since then. But I feel like it's just kind of a mental thing, like the more you beat the dead horse, the more you talk about it, the more they're thinking about it at the line. They just need to get back to going through the routine, focusing, and if you can just get 1 of 2, that's progress. Because the last thing that can happen is you go 0 for 2, and then it's just lost momentum. Like it's almost like when being in Reed Arena for the LSU game, it was like when they drew a foul, like nobody cheered, because it was just like, oh, they have to go back to the line again.
Right.
You can't have that mental warfare game after game after game. They just need a performance that can turn it around. And it seems like the basketball gods have given them a great opportunity, because Ole Miss fouls a ton. So A&M better be prepared to go to the line and make at least 15 to 20 free throws.
I think I have it here. Ole Miss, I believe, hits 73% of their free throws. So, I mean, it's not a significant number, but it is higher. So A&M does need to hit those. Were you able to find that information, Kaylee?
Whenever A&M played Texas Tech, they shot 72.2% of their free throws.
So that's the last time they shot over 70%?
Yes.
Wow.
There you go. And I think the Purdue and Texas Tech games,
right? Early
December, like mid-December. Those were their best 2 games.
Yeah.
Let me look at Purdue to make sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were 75% against Purdue, but those are their 2 best wins on their resume, and those were the 2 best games they played. They were unbeatable in mid-December because they were just making the amount of free throws they needed. They weren't world beaters. They weren't going to make 95% of the game, but they were making what they needed to make.
Speaking of Purdue, A&M, you would look at it and be like, oh, the resume is going to take a hit because Purdue lost. But who did they lose to?
Ohio State, the Ohio State University.
Who had a big week, but A&M beat them in basketball early in the season.
Yeah, Ohio State's kind of fallen off a cliff lately. They have 8 losses already. Their resume is not looking good, but the metrics still love them because they beat Kentucky on a neutral site. They beat Purdue at Mackey Arena, which that hasn't happened in a year. Purdue's been unbelievable there. So those 2 wins are keeping them afloat. They were down at 35th in the net. Now they're up to 30th, so it's back in quad 1 for A&M. And A&M's been getting a lot of help. I know that's not the case. Anytime it seems like in football or basketball or baseball,
they don't get the help.
A&M needs something else to happen from another team. They never get the help. This year they're actually getting the help. Wake Forest was their worst Power 5 or worst Power Conference non-conference game. All of a sudden they were 115 in the net. They're all the way up to the 60s. They're 7-1 in ACC play.
They won last night,
yeah,
right?
They just beat UNC. So that quad 3 game is now quad 2. A&M's got 9 quad 1 and quad 2 wins, which is tied for 4th in the country. And all of a sudden you look at it and it's Purdue is a great win. Texas Tech is top 15 in the net. Ohio State is good. Even the UCF loss isn't bad. The Oregon loss isn't bad. The resume just keeps getting better and better.
All right, so Ole Miss 4-1. They lost a heartbreaker. They had to play comeback. They had to come back, and they were able to come back and force overtime. But they lost to Mississippi State. But they're 4-1. And Coach Schuberth he thinks this is a good matchup for A&M. I look at some of the things that they do well, and I worry. They shoot the 3-ball well. They also play really good defense.
Yeah.
How do you see this matchup?
It's a matchup that should favor A&M because A&M's going to out-rebound them. Ole Miss is 15th in the SEC in rebounding. But it's a team that lives and dies by the 3, and we know A&M is prone to give. They only shoot 35% from the 3, but if they get hot, A&M isn't going to have the firepower to match that, especially with how good Ole Miss's defense is. It's kind of like a A&M defense, but they force a ton of turnovers. They're top 15 in steal percentage, block percentage, turnover percentage, and they have a top 15 defense. So A&M's going to have to be great offensively, and I'm not too I'm just not as high on the offense after watching that LSU performance. But I think just getting away from the cursed rims at Reed Arena is good for them. They've won a lot of games on the road and at neutral sites this season. Their best wins are all away from Reed Arena. They've won the last 3 times they've been in Oxford. I think this is a good matchup because A&M has history beating this Ole Miss team. For the most part, it's the same team. They still have Jamin Brakefield. They still have Jalen Murray. And they still have Matthew Morrell. Those were 3 key pieces they had last year. A&M is familiar with a lot of these guys that they're going to be guarding and going against. To me, this is a win that A&M, it's within reach, but they have to do the little things well. I think they can score on that defense, but if they get to double-digit turnovers, it's going to be a problem. Ole Miss is forcing over 17 turnovers a game in their last 3 games, and that's just not a recipe for success.
I feel like
for A&M.
The LSU game was a no-win situation for A&M because even though they won by 11,
it didn't feel like it.
It didn't feel like it. And also, it's Wade's first game back. And yes, is important, but they got used to playing one way. They kind of adjust. Yeah. And now I think this is where we might be able to see not a finished product, but a better version of what we saw at Reed Arena.
Yeah, I mean, when you take one of the key pieces away, when you take your brakes out of your car, it's going to take some adjusting to when you put them back in. That's a horrible analogy. I'm sorry. But
have you ever changed brakes?
No. I almost changed the tire one time, though.
Almost.
So,
you remember that one time you tried to send me something in the mail and you didn't know how to do that? Remember that?
That was way back when I was an intern. You don't need to keep
that was, I think, about a year ago.
Yeah. A year and a half ago. Anyways, when you take something away, when you never sent mail before in your life, the first time you have to go to the post office and do it, it's going to be a little bit intimidating. You're going to not know what to expect. It's going to take a while for you to get in rhythm. So the next time you ask me to send you a package, I could probably do it.
You could probably do it.
But it's going to take some adjustment period.
Sure.
And that is Wade Taylor coming back into this offense. It was Zurich Phelps running the show for a while. Pharrell Payne got in foul trouble early. It was just they could never get in rhythm against LSU. So this is probably a game where they can get back in rhythm. But you're going to need role players to step up. Ole Miss knows what the deal is. You got to stop Wade. Got to stop Zurich. Got to stop Pharrell Payne. It's can you get Manny going?
Yep.
Can you get another C.J. Wilcher performance? I think he needs to shoot 5-6 threes a game. I don't care if he makes 1 or 2. You have to get him those looks because he's your best shooter.
Yep.
He's your most consistent shooter. if Wade isn't going to shoot 5 or 6 threes a game.
Well, I keep thinking that Wade's going to have one of the breakout performances, not the way to phrase it, but one of those games where he's just like, it's not necessarily a reminder, but it's like, all right, Wade's got 27. And doesn't matter if you put 2 or 3 on him, he's hitting those shots.
Yeah, he had over 20 points 14 times this year. He's only done it once this season, but it's also because he's taking a little bit of a different role. Like A&M doesn't need him to go for 40. And also when he has
they didn't win a lot of those games.
Yeah, they
right?
weren't winning those games when he was going for 38 plus, but they were winning games when he was going for 25 or more.
I'd like to see one of those games here tonight. That'd be nice.
Their biggest wins, the two, think of like over the last couple of years when they beat Alabama, they beat Kentucky twice, they beat Tennessee twice. Wade Taylor had at least 24 points in all of those games. To me, you have to get back to Wade Taylor hitting 3 or 4 threes. He's got to be efficient driving to the rim, but that's where Ole Miss kind of presents challenges is they've got great size and they can block and they can turn you over. And if A&M gets into a track meet with them and Wade's careless with the ball, it's not going to go well. But you need him to get back in rhythm, and he's perfectly capable of doing that.
All right, let's talk a little bit more on the other side. We have one more segment to go here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. And we are back here on TexAgs Live. We're having an
Intern mistake.
What'd you say? What'd you say?
Sorry, you brought up the post office. I had to.
Hey, we should arm wrestle sometime.
I'd rather play basketball. Continue with that.
TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Jasir Rencher.
Yeah.
How many threes did he hit?
9.
By the way, his own record?
Well, broke his conference's record, tied his school's record. He had 7 in the first half, by the way. Didn't really play the second half because they were up by 30. But he had 31 points.
They were up by 30 at the half?
No, like they won by 30. Okay. But he got subbed out with 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
But A&M could use him. I'm just wondering if they could bring him and he could shoot threes.
Can he just graduate early and come now?
Right, that would be the goal. Because how many A&M, that would have outshot A&M in probably, how many games have they played? 15, 16?
Yeah.
In 14 of their games, hit by himself.
How does he shoot from the free throw line?
I don't. Well, see, high school stats are tricky because they're not really putting highlights of free throw shooting on Twitter.
But you're going to assume it's pretty good, right? You're going to assume.
I mean, if he can shoot like that from outside, you have to assume he can shoot like that from the free throw line.
What is the key tonight?
Manny Obaseki. Or just any guard from Dallas, Texas having a big game. That could be Wade or Zurich. But I think Manny is the key because the stretch of SEC games last year where he was going off, Ole Miss was his pinnacle.
Yeah.
The game in Oxford, A&M won by 20. He had 25 points, and the game was a blowout the whole game. He was super physical, driving to the rim. That's how you beat an Ole Miss team that has size. Attack their size and get them in foul trouble. And then when you get to the line, make your free throws.
Yeah.
And Manny did that masterfully. And then A&M played Ole Miss again. He only had 12 points, but in back-to-back games, he had 37 points against Ole Miss. Shot 57% from 3, 53% from the field, only turned the ball over 3 times, and it was 2 of his best performances back-to-back in a stretch of 8 games where he was A&M's, second best player?
Yeah, he's a momentum guy, right?
For sure.
If he has one really big game, I think he'll follow that up.
Yeah, and you're going to need to, you can't, A&M has talent, but assuming that they're going to miss 8 or 9 free throws, you don't have the talent to just play average on the road in this league and win, especially against Ole Miss. You have to have somebody else step up. And Henry Coleman's given you some good points, double digits a couple times in SEC play, but someone's got to go get you 20 plus. And I think you might need 2 or 3 players to get at least 15 tonight.
You're taking on a team that forces a lot of turnovers.
Yeah.
You cannot play that game and combine that with missed free throws, right? So if both of those can be moderate numbers, then I think that's where A&M can have a significant impact if Wade gives them 20 plus or if Manny or somebody else.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily a must-win game, but looking at the schedule, A&M has to get one of these next 2 road games. You have to beat either Ole Miss or Texas on the road, and the way Texas is starting to play at home,
they're playing well.
Ole Miss coming off a really high-energy, exhausting rivalry loss in overtime, and in a place where you've had success, this seems like a win that is within reach for A&M, and you hope down the stretch that they can just make their free throws. And if it's a close game, A&M's going to fight until the very end. And you got to have faith in their shot makers to go and get a bucket late.
What does a win do for their resume?
You are back in the 3 seed discussion. A&M has fallen off 1 seed line, which you're without your best player for 2 weeks. They were able to survive. I'm not mad about A&M dropping to a 4 seed. A win against Ole Miss, who's basically took A&M's spot as that SEC team on the 3 line, would put you back in that conversation. And with the help they're getting on their resume, they would instantly be top 3 in quad 1 and quad 2 wins, top 5 in quad 1 wins with 6. They would be a 3 seed when they wake up tomorrow.
Are you confident?
I'm more confident than I was with the Kentucky matchup.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. A&M just cannot live and die by the 3 because that's how they held Bama to 67 points. Is Bama lives and dies by the 3. They died. Ole Miss ran away with it. So A&M, just don't take 33s and they're going to be fine.
Don't take 33s and don't allow Ole Miss to hit a bunch of threes.
Exactly, yeah.
Luke, great stuff, man. Appreciate you. All right, that's going to do it for TexAgs Live here on a Wednesday. Tomorrow on the program, I believe we have Stephen McGee. We have the fan show guys. And I know we'll have some, Logan Lee will be in studio. So I'm looking forward to talking to Logan tomorrow. We'll look back at the game against Ole Miss and what it means moving forward. Of course, we'll have a football take or 2 to get into. All right, that's going to do it. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. We will catch up with you mañana.